If you wish to speak and you have not submitted a form or notified us in advance, please get your form in now, because once we start this conversation, we're going to cut off speaker submissions. Okay, and just to let the speakers know, we've got obviously a huge number of speakers. We're going to limit public testimony to 1 minute per person. And we're gonna call public testimony following the presentation from the superintendent and staff. Okay, can I get a motion to adopt the agenda, please?
So moved.
So,
Can they move it? They must have did this. Can they move this all over a little bit?
all right. Feng Shui. Okay, great. Well, thank you everybody for coming out tonight. And this is a first discussion of the superintendent's recommended budget for 2011-12. And I'll turn it over to the superintendent.
Thank you, President Barrera, Board of Trustees, staff, and community. I appreciate the opportunity to open up this conversation to present the recommended budget. We have a 35-page brief, and there are some supporting documents. And what I'd like to do is just proceed with the presentation and take questions from the board, and obviously respond accordingly and for the testimony. This is a day that inevitably has been out there, and I go back to June of last year in 2010 when we adopted the current 10-11 budget, recognizing that all things being what they were at that time, that we had about $120 to $140 million problem. That 140 faded on us as, fortunately, the federal jobs funding came in, has been factored into all of this. But we have looked and tracked the developments in the state and what they've meant to public education. And we are at a crossroads today with a very uncertain budget process, which the CFO will get into. We don't have clarity on what's coming. We had to go all the way through a good portion of the early fall before we got a state budget. We attempted to pursue a parcel tax, which would have brought some alleviation of the problem, about $50 million. And unfortunately, we weren't successful. But let's face it, the majority of the voting public did support us, a 51% approval. All that has come and gone. We've recognized that we had to communicate with our constituents. So for the 2 years preceding, we've had a number of town hall meetings and had that number out there and the options to consider. Unfortunately, the size of the deficit is so large that it is impacting all elements of the general fund in the unrestricted area. And tonight's presentation is the culmination of what I consider hard and agonizing work by central office and campus staff, supplemented by PTA, site councils, and community members at large. Running in parallel across the last 6 weeks, we've seen people in the central office and at the campuses working together to create, regrettably, what are shrunken budgets, a mere skeleton of what they were over the last few years. And what we're going to present tonight is a preliminary set of solutions for the $120 million deficit as we know it today. Let me note right off the bat, though, this is not even the worst-case solution. We are caught in the middle in a sea of uncertainty. I hate to use those terms. We have the numbers and the guidance from the state and from the county, which point to $120 million. We're all hopeful and waiting for the legislature and the governor to move forward on Governor Brown's proposal to go to the voters in June for a budget which would be much more supportive of public education. And we'll get into that later. That's the best case scenario. And the worst case, which we're not even addressing tonight, the absolute mathematically worst case, is if in fact we do go to the voters, the budget fails, the governor is required to go back into public education, cutting as much as $400 or $500 million, or $5 billion, I'm sorry. We could see our problem almost doubling if that happens. So this is just a terrible set of circumstances for all of the stakeholders in the room. So, with that in mind, I'd like to proceed, if I could. The presentation is broken into sections. There are 5 parts, 5 chapters in this book. I intend to provide for these opening remarks and to come back and to wrap up later. And in between, we'll have the budget development cycle and recommendations highlighted by our Chief Financial Officer, Ron Little. There are some complicated special issues which I'm asking the Deputy Soup for Business, Phil Stover, to comment on. Ron will also talk about that alternative best case scenario if, in fact, we do get a approved special election in June, and then I will come back to discuss where we are at that point. For the board, you're presented with some extremely difficult and terrible trade-offs. And this is why we're all here today, why we're all very interested across the board. We need to be able to highlight the best collaborative work of various stakeholder groups and show you what we have in terms of solutions and seek guidance, concurrence to go forward. We also need to show you what an alternative budget could look like, again, to seek approval. Building on those 2 steps is the fact that we need to have a green light. We have ongoing strategy development and staffing review and adjustment occurring right now. We will go forward to come to the board on the 22nd of February with a PKS solution resolution. And then the 4th item here is that we need to use all the assumptions, all the recommendations of this evening, the staffing analysis, and be able to build a package that has to go to the County Office of Education by the 15th of March. We are required by State Education Code to issue a second interim financial report. That report must have a couple of multi-year projections on it which explain to the county and higher-level reviewing authority how this district will, in fact, budget and balance its requirements over the next couple of years. So it's all about the recommendations, about the alternative budget and its restorations, about a layoff strategy, and finally a preparation for a second interim. I think this particular slide speaks volumes to the pain and the disgruntlement and the frustration of the last 4 years plus. If you go back to 07, 08, and speed forward to where we are today, this district and all of the members of the team have had collaborative sacrifice and reduced our budgets in the general fund unrestricted by almost $400 million. And now, if in effect we have to go forward with another $120 million cut, that number will cross the $500 million mark. There have never been worse times in our generation. You could say these are the worst since the recession, or the depression, of the 1930s. I'd go back further than that. This is the worst of times in the 150-year history of this fine unified school district. The prolonged nature of this current fiscal crisis, the depths of the cuts, have essentially devastated every element of the general fund. There has been no low-hanging fruit for a couple of years. We've been at that top of the tree and gotten off that tree at least a year or 2 ago. We've cut all of the consultant, all the support contracts. We've gone through at least one golden handshake. We've reorganized and reorganized the reorganizations. We've inserted technology where we could and could afford it. We've eliminated vacant positions at least a couple of times. We've done all that we could to keep us away from the classroom over the last couple of years, and I think it's a reflection of the grit of the staff and of the board that we have to this point in time avoided the massive layoffs or even a consideration of it. But after all of that whittling away of the stuff, not the staff, we have reached a point where 92% of the general fund unrestricted budget is in fact people or people accounts, health benefits compensation. And when faced with a $120 million problem and 92% of it in the people area, we are really facing a brink decision. We have tried to balance all of the requirements as best we could, safeguarding operations at almost 200 campuses. And I know over the last several weeks and in the succeeding months that follow, there will be many, many very well-intentioned and honest, passionate stories about what not to cut. But for the board and for the superintendent, it's still over 200 operating sites. Almost 200 of them are, in fact, teaching and learning campuses. Any cut that we withdraw from this proposal tonight or in the weeks that follow has to be replaced by a similar cut. And we call this a zero-sum game. Essentially, it all has to add up to 120 regardless of what we do. And I know full well that for the staff and for the board, none of these cuts have any value added to what we want to do for kids in education. What have we done with this particular budget, how we've tried to balance? As we have done in the past consistently, we've tried to make sure that the priority was in the classroom. When I met with the traditional principals in this auditorium back the first week of January, I said every decision you make in consultation with the teaching staff, the classified support staff, the parents, and so on, had to be around the child. What was the best for the child? We did that after having cut into the central office budget, tried to make sure that every extra dollar could go into the campuses. This year, and what I see is the foreseeable model, if we are true to our community-based engagement, we have tried to bring in all of the neighborhoods and the campus stakeholder groups to help us with these decisions. I think that's truly consistent. I think that it's our best efforts to allow the people closest to the classroom to make the tough choices and for us to understand and support as appropriate. Even as you look at the new reduction cycle, you have to know that what we did, in fact, did cut academic programs. We have tried to be transparent, open, and inclusive. Throughout January, I know there were multiple meetings across every campus and then meetings across the clusters covering those campuses. So there has been plenty of discussion about what is going on here. The fiscal goals, I think that we have to approach them on two levels. The most immediate set of actions that the board has to take, I outlined a couple pages ago, and that is the statutory requirements tied to the 15th of March. Because we are stewards of the public resources of the tax dollars, we must have a balanced budget, or all of the action associated with supporting a balanced budget for our interim reports and then finally for an adopted budget. So by the 15th, we have to have solutions that are deemed acceptable at the county and higher level. We have to be making every effort to pursue a positive fiscal certification. That is also part of our commitments to the taxpayer and to higher authority, and meet any and all county office requirements. So that's in front of us in less than 30 days. I have to note, though, that we're not adopting a budget tonight or even proposing to adopt a budget. That's the longer view. That's the 30 June requirement. What we do tonight and the weeks before the 15th of March are all about building the foundation on the budget you have to adopt. So those are, I think, my comments to set the table, and I'd like to turn it over now to the Chief Financial Officer, Ron Little.
Good evening, President Barrero, board members, cabinet members. This evening I will walk the board through the budget development process, as well as the recommended budget that we bring forward to you tonight. And then later in the presentation I will walk you through the alternative budget, which represents perhaps the best case scenario. So as we know, and as Superintendent Koba stated, the state of uncertainty with respect to the state's finances have put all school districts throughout the country, or throughout the state, in a precarious situation. And we have a lot of educational consultants and educational experts weighing in on what school districts should plan for over the next year. Those estimates range from $330 per ADA worth of reductions all the way up to $1,000 of reductions per ADA. We've been taking a bifurcated approach. We've been developing two budgets simultaneously. Neither represents a worst-case scenario. We've been taking the middle-of-the-road approach, trying to follow what we thought and what has proven to be the case, the county's recommendations and guidance with respect to assumptions, as well as the best-case scenario, remaining hopeful that we could add back into the middle-of-the-road budget. The staff concurs with the county's recommendations and guidance that you see on the slide. We feel it's fiscally prudent. It is based on fact. The $19 per ADA is built into the budget in the deficit factor. The additional the 331 to 330 reductions per ADA is also what would result as a result of the tax measure either not being placed on the ballot or not passing. It also assumes that Prop 98 would remain intact and that the $2.1 billion of that money would be had to make up by the schools. So that would equate to a $330 worst case, or I'm sorry, middle of the road scenario. And again, it's not the worst case scenario. If the initiative were to fail, as President Barrero mentioned earlier, and if Prop 98 is suspended and K-12 was required to take 40% of what was required to balance the budget, that could push us into a situation of approaching close to a $200 million gap next year, which is unfathomable. Just by way of example, to even get to balancing that budget, we would not only have to implement all of the $120 million solutions that we're looking at tonight, but we would have to close the doors of every school at least 30 days prior to the current last day of school, if not 45 days out. So it is a significant concern, and we are in a no-win situation. And as difficult it is to recognize and to consider, especially giving all the cuts and all the strategies we've taken up to this point to get through the $371 million of reductions that we've made over the past 4 years, we do need to consider the multi-year view, and we do need to look at closing the deficit, obviously, the following year. So as we bring these budget solutions to you and these budgets to you, we were looking at least for a 3-year window with respect to assumptions. We hope to bring the 2012-2013 assumptions back to you generally on the March 8th presentation for the second interim. As Superintendent Koba mentioned, some of what we've sacrificed over the last 4 years are, of course, the furlough days across bargaining units, the golden handshakes that have, drained us of very experienced and talented staff. We've eliminated many vacant positions, multiple organizational realignments. Central office has been reduced, of course, considerably, as you'll note earlier, and many spending freezes. So we've been to the well many, many times, and we find ourselves going back again. We know at this point what's contributing to our need to go to the well. We have the state uncertainty. We have rising costs, right? So even though the state is projecting to give us a COLA next year, they're taking it back and then a little bit more in their budgets. So even as they give and take away, the cost of our step and column continues to go up. The cost of health and welfare coverage continues to go up. Utilities costs, 5% increase. And so we're left with fewer resources to address the rising costs. Due to no fault of our own, the federal stimulus dollars will be expended this year. That's $50 million of federal money that have been supporting educational programs and benefiting our students in the classroom. Those cannot continue. We had built those into the budget next year, assuming that we could, and hopeful that we could continue those. But the small K through 2 class sizes at 16.5 to 1 that are funded with some of those monies, we cannot continue in our eyes. Similarly, the flat federal funding, we're left to do the same with the same amount of money, even as our costs rise with Title I and Title II and Title III. This is just a snapshot of the current year budget, and this is just to remind us that, we have $480 million worth of restricted funds. These are funds that are earmarked for specific purposes, grant, specific programs, specific student populations. This is obviously not an exhaustive list. And then the other $688 million is the unrestricted funds. That's where that's our well. That's where we're going to. That's where we need to find the savings to balance the budget. That's where we have the flexibility. across the entire general fund, $1.14 billion the current year, as Superintendent Koba mentioned. Most of that is in staff and people. 87% of our expenditures across the entire general fund is staff salaries and health and welfare expenses. If we're looking at just the unrestricted piece, which is what we're focusing on tonight, we're at 91% of total expenditures, and so that's why the reductions that you're seeing tonight are heavily staff laden and impacting such a significant number of staff. I would just note that the central office piece of the general fund unrestricted budget is small in comparison, representing about 8% of the general fund unrestricted budget. I think by now that we're all aware of the process that we took to get here. We've been through it now for a couple months. It seems like a couple months, maybe longer. We took, just briefly, you know that by taking the projected deficit off the top, what we did was we just started with what were the available revenues for next year. So as opposed to looking at cutting budgets across the district, we looked at building budgets. And to get us there, we had to start with some assumptions around what were the unrestricted available revenues for next year. Once we identified those, we said, what else could we add to that pot by making sure that we had minimal services offered at the central office? What were the schools absolutely requiring to operate minimally, sort of in a bare bones fashion, and we created base models and created a base allocation model through which we allocated teachers and principals to every school. And then we looked at what was left, and that was our X factor, which is really the discretionary funding, unrestricted, that the schools had left to work with. And this was in an effort to decentralize the decision-making process with respect to funding priorities and to realigning resources so that they better met the needs of the students at those particular sites. A lot of community involvement, a lot of site council work, a lot of outreach and community participation to get us where we are tonight. So getting into the recommended budget, we are proposing tonight a budget that preserves $512 million of educational programming and site support. Again, this is just the unrestricted side. There's the other $450 million worth of restricted programming. You can see the core areas. We really strive to protect the core, to protect academics, to protect full-day kindergarten. We heard that was important to the community, and the others that you see on the list, while giving the sites the freedom and the discretion to add to the bare bones central core services. To get us the additional funding to the sites, this is just an example of what additional reductions we made to the central office. So this represents about 63 FTE, about $7.5 million, or 14% of all non-school support central office admin services. The numbers that you see up there, for the most part, reflect the total hits, the total reductions to the departments given the 120 list, as well as the 14% reductions to the central office. Of course, business services is taking a 39% hit. That's the maintenance, human resources, transportation that Deputy Superintendent Mr. Stover will speak to later. And I'd be happy to come back and answer any questions about any of these. I would just mention that the academics, this is an example, or this is just a look at sort of what's not in the school. So again, this is just central office support. So that would be student services reductions, that would be curriculum support, and the work that our assistant superintendent of instruction does, as well as the delta in the allocation formula, the $45 million less dollars that the schools had to work with this year as compared to last. This slide just represents some of the key reductions that we had to implement or recommending to implement to maximize resources, again, to provide the schools with the maximum amount of funding and resources to work with. These are all repeats from our 120 million list, which we're actually going to get into now. I believe the last time this board saw the $120 million solutions list was January 7th, and I would just highlight some changes here. As Superintendent Koba mentioned, this is a zero-sum game. So as we've been vetting these numbers in the past month and making adjustments, there's been two main types of adjustments. One adjustment is just kind of validating the numbers and making sure that they're accurate. And the other change is meeting with the department heads and with the area experts just to see really what would that department, what that program look like and function like at a bare bones level. And so we made some adjustments, about $3.3 million worth of adjustments to adding back into certain departments. For example, our enrollment options, after meeting with that department and Assistant Superintendent Salazar, we added back in, I think, 4 clerks who were originally on the list for reductions, having heard the need and obviously the criticality of the work they did. And we went through each department like that. The other $2 million was the delta between the police services. In the last iteration, you saw we were hoping for $2.7 million worth of police reductions. Having heard and met with Chief Braun and Cabinet, it looks like that 12.5% reduction to police is more doable and more realistic given the needs of our campuses. And I'd be happy to come back and speak to any of these changes. Oh, I should mention, I'm sorry. So the $3.3 million that we added back in, we had to find some additional savings and or revenues to offset what we added back in. And so we've added about $1.5 million worth of mandated cost claims reimbursements, which of course are one time, but they will certainly be revenues for next year. And then we added in an assumption about the vacancies that we'll bring to the board on February 22nd for your consideration and hopefully approval to eliminate those. And we feel that there's somewhere between 1.8 and 2.5 million worth of vacancy savings over and above what the division chiefs have included in their reductions. So we'll be bringing that back to you in a future meeting. As Superintendent Koba alluded to, of course, all of these solutions are predicated on a very volatile set of assumptions. As I mentioned, we've been working very diligently to validate the numbers. Variances will continue to occur as we learn more information. Again, it's a zero-sum game. Planning for a significant critical reduction in staffing and implementing it are two different things, and it will require the joint efforts of everyone involved. Some of the options for dealing with the variances I note up here. We're hoping that we will be able to have some second interim adjustments that are favorable to us that we can add towards any variances. Of course, we have the reserves, which we do not want to use. Another option would be looking at the out-year deficit or exploring other options which are still on the table but just not concretized yet, such as closing smaller schools and solutions such as that. So where we are now is we're almost 100% in receipt of all the school budgets. I believe there's just one or two, and I won't mention any names, that have not turned them in. This is our preliminary. This is very preliminary data. This was just pulled off the report on Tuesday. So this is what it's looked like. Well, it looks like that the numbers for impacts for next year based on the SBB reports at the school level, as well as our own central office reductions that we're implementing right now through HR and finance. It looks like we have about 824 certificated, and these are FTEs, so these are not bodies, 824 FTE of certificated staff impacted, and about 488 classified staff impacted. Under the schools, 535 are classroom teachers, Most of these, 447, are as a result of the increased class sizes, as well as the ARA funding, as we mentioned earlier, going away. They also include in-school resource teachers, some team leader teachers, as well as some GATE teachers. We also have in there some project resource teachers, which of course are the VAPA and the magnet teachers, and some other smaller FTE of other teachers. The rest of the certificate piece we'll see on the next slide are counselors and nurses and librarians, etc. On the central office side, the certificated numbers are primarily the OSAL reductions, some supplemental counselors from the Tier 3 resources, and some special ed teachers. As I said, this is, again, preliminary data. Unfortunately, this slide has been mistitled. This is actually what the sites have purchased with all of their resources. So while the FTE not purchased is probably a good reflection of what was not purchased in X, what was purchased with X and with Title I and with EIA, et cetera, if that makes sense. So I'm again, preliminary numbers, but the FTE that's not purchased, again, are those that would go into the PKS and turn into potential reductions. You can see that about half the nurses. So what we're doing, the FTE purchase is just compared to this current year. So of the nurses in the current year, there were about 81 nurses district-wide at the site levels. About half of those have been purchased. Counselors, again, these are site counselors, so not the centralized counselors. So of the 245 counselors, nearly 200 of them have been, at this time, purchased and will move forward. And I won't go through this entire list. We will bring this list, obviously, back to you in more detail at our next meeting, either prior to February 22nd, if there is a meeting, or on February 22nd, and we'd be happy to answer. And these numbers will change. This is a preliminary report, and we continue to sort of refine the reporting tools in SBB. So at this point, I'd like to turn the presentation over to Deputy Superintendent Stover to discuss some special budget issues.
All right, thank you, Ron. Good evening, board members. I'd like to go through with you in a little bit of detail 4 very intricate items that we've considered during this year's budget process: transportation reduction, police, security, the work of our realignment committee that's been ongoing, and then some reductions in special education. First of all, transportation. Back in 07-08, our transportation budget was approximately $51 million. This year, it's about $39.2 million. We've experienced some significant reductions in the last several years, and this year we're looking at reductions of about $7.85 million, which represents 20% more of our existing budget. Those reductions, as you can see, are in 4 basic categories: magnet and VEEP, special ed, OSIL, and within our central office reduction of the 14%, there is a portion of that was allocated to transportation, about $500,000. So that's part of this as well. We are not eliminating any transportation. We are not eliminating all magnet transportation, all VEEP transportation. This is a portion thereof. You can see that we're eliminating $3.75 million. The total for magnet and VEEP is about $8.7 million. So it's a little bit less than half. There will be $4.95 million of magnet and VEEP transportation remaining. The OSIL transportation, of course, is tied to the elimination of the OSIL program. Our goal, as we try and cope with these reductions, is to look at a complete re-racking of our routes that we have here in the district. We have a new routing system. We're going to be implementing that to its fullest capacity to really ensure the fact that we're streamlined, we're efficient in our routing, and I think that we'll be able to mitigate some of the impacts of these reductions through that effort. That's going to be an effort that is ongoing now, since we've implemented about 3 or 4 months ago our new system through the spring on into the summer, looking for it to be complete by next year. We're looking at a minimum of 65 staff people, bus drivers, and office personnel. We're looking at a combination. We can't reduce routes and not reduce the folks that sit in the office over there, so we're looking at that as well. One way we're going to do that is we're going to ask you again. We've done this now, at least this will be the second year in a row. Our current ridership radius is 2.5 miles. If a child lives outside of 2.5 miles, they will be able to ride. We're going to need to expand that to reach these goals to 5 miles. Last year, you increased our ridership from 10 to 15 students on a bus before the bus would go. This year, we're going to ask you, as part of this process, to increase that ridership to 25 per bus. We're going to look at using a lot of hub and spoke, centralized routing. A student may not have their transportation eliminated, but they may have to ride a little bit longer on a bus. They may have to take a bus to a central place and then take a second bus to get to their school. In the case of some of the programs, especially the dedicated magnets, where students come literally from every corner of the district. We've worked this and reworked it and reworked it. We're down now to 43 schools that are impacted by these reductions of our approximately 200 schools. No school is impacted by more than 20%. There's about 3 schools that hover around the 20% of their current enrollment. That does not mean that 20% of their students will not be enrolled at the school next year. I want to make that very clear. It does not mean that Roy McPhail, who works for me as well, will be reducing the enrollments by 20%. What it means is that 20% of the students will have their transportation either eliminated or altered. More that will be altered than eliminated, which is good news from the way it looks right now. We don't know how many of those students will find a way to get to school on their own. We know that currently we only transport 35% of non-resident students district-wide. So we would anticipate that even some of the students who are having their transportation eliminated will be able to get to the school, finding alternate methods of transportation. You have in your backup a spreadsheet. It's not in the PowerPoint, but you have it in your backup material that shows the impact of the transportation reductions, and we broke it out for you by magnet, by VEEP, by the 5-mile radius, and by the ridership of 25. We're in a sense, it's a terrible, horrible cut, but we've been able to get it down to where less than 3% of the total students in the district will be impacted by these ridership changes. There is no good news in any of that, but I think we've been able to get down the impact to less than 3% of our overall students. So you do have a spreadsheet in your backup that shows you the impact by the 43 schools. We do not anticipate any other impacts to any other schools than what you have on your spreadsheet. In addition, we have special education students. What's happening right now? There's a $3 million cut in the special education budget. The special education department is doing an audit, and it's a manual audit of IEPs and of special needs of the students to determine which of those students have within their IEP the right or the necessity to be provided transportation, or because of special circumstances they have the need to be provided transportation. That's ongoing. It's a very exhaustive effort, and as that is done, we would have more details on the exact numbers of special education students impacted. But we're really looking for students to have perhaps a longer walk to a bus, a longer time on the bus, and in that sense be able to maintain their transportation. Moving on to the police. With the police, we began the process. You saw a spreadsheet a month ago that showed a 50% reduction in the police force of the school district. We've been able to get that down from 50% to 12.5%. We're looking at 8 FTEs reduction. Of those 8 FTEs, 4 are currently vacant, so there would not be personnel losing their positions. Half of them are vacant right now. We would have 2 high schools, 2 middle schools, and 3 elementary schools district-wide impacted by those reductions, and the office over here would have to experience some closure during the day because we would go down to 1 clerk, and that person obviously has to be able to go to lunch and have some breaks. So we would look at some reductions in the services provided over across from the Ed Center here. I want to clarify as well, that's the reductions in our police departments. We also have, I wanted to let you know that the schools have purchased about 61 FTEs in campus security assistance. Those are security personnel who work at the school site who they're not sworn officers, but they provide direct support to the principals. They work for the principals, and I highlight them because sometimes I think they are our invisible security force, and we must give them the respect that they deserve, because they're really there on a daily basis providing a lot of work directly with the students. And the sites have purchased, in addition to the police department that we have, 61 full-time equivalents. Some of them are half-time, some of them are three-quarter time, but we do have 61 campus security assistants that will be providing additional security for the sites next year. Now, we've had a school realignment committee that's been meeting. There are 16 staff members on the realignment committee. You have in your backup material a list of the members of the committee, and I think you'll see that it's a good representation geographically of the different services, the different schools, different grade levels in the district. Now, the committee has really come out with one strong recommendation after our hours of work. The committee really is recommending that the district pursue an intentional, intense look at the overall alignment of the district in its entirety, as far as grade level alignments, school sizes and configurations. They're recommending we review our attendance boundaries based on the premise that over a large number of years, these things have changed almost in isolation from each other. They have changed in isolation from one aspect, or what we would call a cluster today, of the district, without any realization or full awareness of the impact on other geographical areas of our district, or on attendance patterns, feeder patterns as a whole. They would like this to be a year-long process, to begin now and go through the 11-12 school year, that it would be in conformity with the policy you've already adopted for looking at closures. However, the one difference would be that the focus would not be closing schools, and the focus would not be on closing small schools. The focus would be on getting it right, realigning, looking at grade levels, looking at where we have K-12s, we have K-4s, we have 5-6s, we have K-8s, and really all of that alignment is that really the way we want to go. So that's the strong recommendation that the board authorized the committee to go through that process, and during that time then get the community input, get the stakeholder input that we need prior to making any, one more time, in a sense, an ad hoc recommendation to cut 5 schools or close 4 schools or 10 schools, not based on a holistic view of what the impact of that would be. On the next page, you do have some these are not recommendations from the committee, but these are things the committee has considered and at least believes there's enough validity to them to look for further study. And we would like to do that further study within the confines of that year-long effort as we go forward. And you have a memo as well in your backup material that gives you a little bit more detail on that, and won't go into that more. Special education, we're looking at approximately a 3% reduction in the total District $264 million special ed budget. They have been assigned the task of reducing $7.25 million. They're looking at 2.5 FTEs of human resources, 1 FTE in the finance department, resource teachers, 3 at least, possibly more, education specialists, some classified staff, probably 9 or 10 FTEs in the classified staff, the $3 million that we mentioned before in the transportation reduction that they would experience, and then reducing the intersessions and the summer sessions down to 1 late-term summer session after year-round schools are over, and that would yield about $1 million in reduction. It's 3%. Again, I don't want to say that's good news, but we've been able to keep the special ed reductions down to that level that we believe we can do and not impact the services provided to the most needy of all of our students. Ron's going to come back now and deal with the alternative budget that we've looked at, and we have the subject area experts here to answer specific questions on any of the 4 things that I mentioned, and we'll be happy to answer.
Thank you. And before I go into the alternative budget, I just wanted to also draw your attention to the backup documentation. So you'll note that you have the general fund unrestricted reductions by divisions and some departments as backup. You have the central office reductions, some detail, including special ed, and you have the school allocation spreadsheet, which is that option 1 that we discussed and decided on in January, I believe, or December. So what we've presented so far is kind of the middle-of-the-road budget, the superintendent's recommended budget. We are hopeful that the tax initiative we heard so much about makes it to the ballot in June, and we are hopeful that the voters will support it and support K through 12 education in June. And if that is... And again, that's a key component of the governor's current budget proposal. So his budget is predicated on the tax initiative passing. If the tax initiative doesn't pass, then we're in the middle-of-the-road scenario, and we're in the 120, 130 range that we've been looking at. The alternative budget, we would just, again, caveat that this is the budget that we could potentially implement only if the state ballot tax initiative is passed, and we would recommend that the board consider restoring the solutions, the budget reductions that we talked about in these key areas, and I believe Deputy Superintendent Meyer is going to talk about them a little bit more in detail, but certainly class sizes from a fiscal perspective, as we talked about, a long-term view, setting aside some of that potential revenue for future years deficits and addressing those problems. Again, the money that we save now and can reduce now is $2 next year, and more further out, the exponential value of taking those actions. I think trying to get back to the schools more money for X, and I think we have a slide here with some more detail. So I believe at this point I'll turn it over to Dr. Meyer. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. When we're looking at a possible restoration of the $57 million, the superintendent's budget includes some recommendations with our staff priorities. The first, as you can see, includes kindergarten through 3rd grade class size reduction. We know that the research and we understand the importance of class size reduction, particularly at the early grades, is extremely important, and for that reason we have included it here. Another item that you will see is the supplementary money for the magnet programs. And we have many magnet programs that are really nationally recognized, internationally recognized, and they really provide a wonderful resource for our students. So we recognize here the $4.5 million for possible additions of those supplemental allocations. Going forward, another recommendation for restoration would include the arts and music programs that we currently have within our campuses. And these resource teachers provide service to provide professional development, in many cases, elementary instruction in music. And we also have a possibility of restoration of other resource teachers, which could include graduation coaches or other resource teachers on the campus who meet our academic goals. And as you see going further down, we've also included support to the sites. The police and safety issues certainly are something that we would want to consider, as well as the outside of the sites. We know that the landscapers and our custodial staff contribute to a positive environment for our students. And so for these reasons, we have looked at these particular options. Another extremely important option, we would like to recommend an increase in the X factor that would go back to schools. We're looking at the reductions that we've given, and as we see a restoration, we would like to honor the decisions made by the communities regarding positions and supports for students at each particular site. And for that reason, that would be a strong recommendation as well. And lastly, I'd like to ask Ron Little to come back up, and he will discuss the contingency for the multi-year deficits.
Thank you. As we mentioned, this really is the best case scenario. The restoration plan is really an effort to restore as much as we can back into the programs. I would caveat that it's up to $57 million, but we certainly want to be prudent and set aside some money for future years. So I think in our best case scenario, we still have a $26 million deficit the following year, and then of course we have 13-14 to consider as well. So I think setting some money aside for that is certainly prudent. I think we're looking at, certainly all the way down through the landscapers, we're looking at a restoration of about 378 FTE back into the 1,300 that you saw on a previous slide. $11.5 million increase to X Factor probably equates to about 130 more FTE. So there's about 500 FTE here that perhaps are hinging on the tax initiative passing in June. So again, this is our alternative budget, and we would offer it as a better option than the first one, but perhaps not as likely, and certainly not what the county would encourage us to submit with the second interim. So at this point, I will turn it over to Superintendent Koba for some closing remarks.
Could move to the next slide. The next steps here, clearly where we are tonight is with presentation to the community and to the board. And that in addition to that, it's moving forward in another 12 days with a PKS resolution, and then building on those two events, actually a second interim financial report being forwarded based on board approval to the county. Along with a resolution for layoffs. The next slide I want to bring back is really why we're all here tonight, because we are in fact seeking the approval of the board for the strategy, and also for the $60 million or $57 million restoration concept, that recommendation for a strategy as well. The Human Resources Division will continue to analyze the numbers to create the particular kinds of service resolution that's required in order to balance this $120 million cut, and then all of that work builds toward the submission of the second interim. This is a very agonizing, very difficult budget. We have worked across the entire district at all levels, from the cabinet down to the site councils and PTAs, and no one agrees with these kind of cuts in terms of philosophy or what's sound for teaching and learning. But it is the incredible reality we're in, the sea of uncertainty. I would say time and time again, this district, nor any district in this state, can cut its way out of the budget crisis. We need revenue in a massive way, and that's why I think the governor's strategy for an election in June is the right one. We have tried to be clear and honest and forthright with the facts as we know them. We couldn't close the entire central office. $52 million does not even fill half the $120 million hole. We need to remember who we are dealing with. 118,000 students, K-12, as well as our charter school authorities. Over 30,000 English language learners. 16,000 special education students. And almost two-thirds of our kids coming free and reduced lunch households. We've been collaborative, we've been open, we've tried to bring in all the stakeholders. We've tried to minimize what is here in the central office to try to move as many dollars as we could to the campuses. And even at the campuses, I know clear well they've struggled to determine what is bare bones versus what's even operable. We need to support, in everything we say and do, almost 200 campuses. That's 120 plus elementary schools, 22 middle schools, 16 high school campus, and a collection of atypical schools. So anything we do to shift funding around or to adjust the program will ripple through all of those schools as well as the central office. And those are the hard facts that we and the board need to deal with. And with that, I'll turn it now over to the board president.
Thank you. Thank you, Superintendent. I'm going to call public speakers, and again, I know everybody has made a real effort to come down here and wants to share your thoughts. We do need to limit this to 1 minute apiece, though, in order for everybody to have a chance to be heard, and I apologize for that. So I'll call Jesus Montana first.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jesus Montana. I'm the president of the San Diego Schools Police Officers Association. Every department in this district has taken a hard look at their budgets and determined at what level their budgets can be cut. Recognizing that we are all affected by this budget crisis, the San Diego Schools Police Officers Association has stepped forward and closely worked with the school police management to create the proposal before you. These are difficult cuts, and we understand that. And it will affect the safety and security of our students, staff, and parents. These proposed cuts of 12.5% are in addition to the 53% overall cuts taken from the school police budget in the past 3 years. Since I have a minute, in closing, we would like to thank actually thank Chief Braun and his management team for allowing the POA to work collaboratively on this proposal. Rest assured that the members of the POA will continue to provide the high-level services that you've come to expect from us. Thank you.
Thank you, Jesus. Isaac Reska. Yeah. And after Isaac, we'll call up Robert German, Mary Pat Hutt, and Araceli Carrera.
Hello, I am Isaac Riska Candini. I am in 5th grade in the seminar program in Hawthorne Elementary. I'm here to please note to you that seminar is very important. It should be a mandate program, and the entire seminar is the foundation of the future. The mathematicians, scientists, which will change our future and lead us to a better place. Now, with the global warming, there will be maybe some new ideas economically, and with all our problems of economics, and that should be one of the most important things that occurs to you. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for this time.
My name is Mary Pat Hutton. I'm the Magnet Resource Teacher for Fries Elementary School in Southeast San Diego. We are celebrating our 10th year of having an Arts and Culture Magnet program at Fries. The foundation of our program is a strong structure of collaboration. We have built this structure year by year for the past 10 years with our partners in education. We have 25 partnerships with San Diego arts organizations, and they are just as passionate about educating our students as we are. The La Jolla Playhouse, Malashok Dance Company, San Diego Guild of Puppetry, La Jolla Music Society, and the Mingay Museum are just a few of the organizations who have invested in Fries students. These partners provide teaching artist residencies, field trips to concerts, plays, and dance performances, as well as site assembly programs. I believe our combination of community partnerships and the strong teaching artist collaboration make Fries Elementary Magnet program unique and powerful. I'm here to ask that you continue to funding our Magnet program. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Araceli Carrera, and for the past 7 years, I've taught visual arts and dance at Fries Elementary. The most powerful thing that happens to a student in my class is the way they discover their ability to share a vision. They are inspired to seek detail. They trust the representation of work done in class, and they realize they must take time to create work that shows clarity. Fine arts are essential in our students' education. Not only ignites creativity and imagination in our students, but it provides the tools to become a well-rounded learner. The process within the art making allows a student to discover and connect a more defined way to communicate. It teaches discipline as they experience technique. They learn about respect and how to admire and welcome diversity. It goes beyond learning elements of art or composition of dance because the arts reflect intention. Fine arts are not to be selective but inclusive. The importance of art in school goes beyond the product of it. It is within the process of art making that our students gain knowledge, intention, and a powerful way of connecting. Let's not make them disappear. Thank you so much.
Robert German, Stephen McCormick, Molly Puryear, and Lynn Jennings. Go ahead and come forward. Yeah, thanks.
Skip ahead.
Yeah.
My name is Steve McCormick. I am the Director of Education and Outreach for La Jolla Playhouse, and I am here to speak on behalf of the Magnet program at Fries Elementary and to ask that that program is retained. I have been part of the arts education community for 20 years, and I can tell you that Fries Elementary does it right. We are very proud of our 10-year relationship with this school, and it would be an absolute shame if this program was not allowed to continue. It would be a detriment to the students, to their families, and to their community. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Molly Puryear. I'm here on behalf of Malashok Dance and our partnership in the 4th year of partnership with Fries Elementary. I just want to point out that we have received an overwhelming amount of support through corporate foundation and government grants to help support as budgets have taken funding away from this program. I believe that more reductions to the Magnet program are in direct conflict with that community support that reaches beyond this community but in a national level. Also, as a partner, I feel that the most fundamental element is our relationship with Mary Pat Hutt, and to cut that position and funding for her salary would be a detriment to the partnership that we've been able to create. That position ensures that the quality of the programs, the evaluation, and the implementation is done effectively and positively. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Lynn Jennings. I am the Executive Director of the San Diego Guild of Puppetry. We have worked as an organization at Fries since 1998. I was there in the late 80s, early 90s. The difference that what Mary Pat Hutt has created on that campus with these students is nothing short of magical. Please find some way to maintain that programming. Most of the arts organizations that come there find the majority of the funding to underwrite what we do there. Please maintain Mary Pat Hutt, and please do not kill the magic that has been created at that site. Thank you.
Stephen Semeraro, Laura Ambrose, Chase Osborne, Jennifer Andrews, and Candy Nieto.
Thank you for allowing me to come speak today. My name is Steve Semeraro, and I am here to speak on behalf of the Magnet School programs. My daughter is a student in the Magnet School programs. 10 years ago, we decided to send her to the public school system in San Diego because of these programs. She started out at the Language Academy in the French Immersion program, and now she's at San Diego High's International Studies program. One thing I've learned in observing her go through this is that you cannot put on a quality Magnet School program in addition to a standard curriculum without the additional resources that are necessary. I don't know about all Magnet School programs, and you have to make some tough decisions, but I know that the ones that she's been a part of really do work and are effective. I see it whenever I go to San Diego High, when I meet with the teachers, when I go to the programs, but you don't have to rely on my testimony. You can look at the numbers that San Diego High generates to see this. 7% of the students show up for school every day. 78% of them test proficient in English language or advanced. 100% of them pass the CASI test. 98% go to college. These sorts of numbers can't be maintained without the resources to do it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Laura Ambrose, and my husband and I reside in Pacific Beach, 1431 Yost Drive. I'm here to request that you continue to support the International Baccalaureate program in Pacific Beach. My husband and I have two sons that are currently in this program, one at PB Middle School and the other at Mission Bay High, who hopes to get his IB diploma. It is by far the largest reason why we chose to keep our children in public schools and not look at private options. The API test scores have gone up 113 points at PB Middle School since they embraced the IB program. The participation by local families at PB Middle School has risen from 34% to 42%. Many of these families have made a choice to go to the public school rather than the private school options that are around. International Baccalaureate has changed Pacific Beach Middle School to embrace excellence, community participation, and outstanding academic achievement. On behalf of myself and the entire community, I encourage you to support IB. Thank you.
Jennifer Andrews, grandparent, former parent. I represent the teachers, the administration, and most of all the counselors. Out of 740 students that I currently represent, I'm asking that we review the direct services for review for restoration to meet the needs and the goals of the academic goals for San Diego Unified. Currently, I've sent out 300 attendance letters and contracts, many due to homeless, job loss, stress, illness, and I have several living out of their cars. 132 parent conferences to date with far more serious issues than we've ever had, 60 court cases due to divorce and separation, court appearances, 80 very serious DC teacher conferences, 13 CPS, children left home alone with no one to bring them to school, increase in mental health issues, increase in special education. I've had 16 suicide risks, which is up from last year, increase in meds, learning contracts, and 11 anxiety meds. These issues are increasing, and I commend you for the decisions that you have to make, but I hope you will reconsider restoration of these areas. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, my name is is Chase Osborne, and I'm a 4th grader at Green Elementary. I'm 9 years old, and I'm bravely volunteering to speak about why you should not suspend our magnet. When I heard that magnet funds would be suspended, I thought it was sad because PE is what a lot of us love about our school. PE is important to kids because it helps them to stay fit. We have PE 4 days a week. A lot of kids, like me, need some time to get out and get energy burned instead of being in class almost all day. PE is not only important for our bodies. I can put it into 4 words and a comma: healthy bodies, healthy minds.
I have to follow that. I'm Candy Nieto, and I'm dressed in black because I feel like I'm about ready to face the death of community-based English tutoring, which has been in the district for 12 years. Gone forever will be the one-on-one tutoring sessions of over 500 children so far this year. Gone will be the ESL parents' chance to learn English, tutoring, and home techniques to use with a kinder child in a school setting and their own children at home. Gone will be the parents gaining the skills, comfort level, and pride to know they can become a volunteer in their child's school. If the program is eliminated, it cannot be resurrected. It will be gone forever because the monies to restart this program will not be there. You have read the letters from the students. Some of you had some delivered today and yesterday, the past testimony of parents, teachers, principals, and children letting you know what these classes mean to them. Again, I would ask you to reconsider the elimination of the CBET program, reduce us if you can, but let us live to assist family and children who need the most from our schools to succeed. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Vanessa Forsyth, and I am a credentialed school nurse with my license and master's in community health nursing. I have been a school nurse here in the district since 2004. It's been proposed that there will no longer be an allocation from the general fund to give one minimum day of school nurse time at individual school sites, and I'm here to ask you to reconsider that because of the impact that will have on the health and well-being of our students. Realizing that that's your concern, I wanted to share with you some information as to this care that nurses give to our students. I have a letter here from a medical group, Allergy and Asthma Medical Group, that cares for quite a number of our students. And they have said, "Dear school board officials, we are writing this letter in support of continuing to employ the San Diego Unified School District nurses. We are a medical practice that cares for children with asthma and allergy problems." And I guess I can't say anything more. That's too bad. I will make sure you get a copy of everything, which is what I did when I couldn't speak last time. Thank you.
All right.
Good evening. My name is Ophelia Cabrera. I am a trilingual credentialed school nurse. Each year, about 1/3 of public high school students fail to graduate. Majority of dropout students are related to drug use and mental illnesses. As a school nurse, I'm often consulted when students have either physical and or behavioral problems. I would like to share one of the many incidents that I have experienced. A 14-year-old student was brought by a school staff because of skin problems all over arms, which were affecting school performance and attendance. Utilizing brief, concise nursing assessment, the skin problems were related to her belief of seeing bugs crawling and coming out from her skin, a symptom of cocaine use. I developed emergency medical and psych evaluation, and role of the school nurse is vital in managing the students' medical and mental problems and prevent high school dropout. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Jananne Moffitt, and I'm one of the many school nurses in the district. I'm here to stress the importance of school nurses to your child. We frequently teach our students through song. I now respectfully request you to listen to the words I speak of the few serious things that happen every day at school, and I hope you'll remember. Diabetes and seizures and cardiac problems, peanuts and bee stings, and now they can't swallow. Anaphylaxis is a serious thing. These are a few of my serious things. Asthma controlling and insulin injecting, treatments, assessments, and mandated screenings. Nurses are part of the school safety net. For students and families, we're health advocates. Telephones ringing, the school nurse is calling. Jane has a fever and Johnny has fallen. Panic sets in, then you breathe with a sigh. Don't worry, she says, they're here safe by my side. When their heart stops, when their bone pops, when their glucose drops, I simply remember my school has a nurse and everything will be fine.
Anybody who can top that gets an extra 30 seconds as well. Thank you. Lisa Ehrlichman, Dr. Howard Terrace, Kathy Ryan, and Kathleen Burke. All right. Pass them out. Could use it.
Right kind, too. I'm Lisa Ehrlichman, and I just gave them lifesavers because I'm giving them an opportunity to be a lifesaver. I just got a note that Dr. Terrace is going to be late, and he would love to talk after me, but he's not here, so we'll maybe squeeze him in. And he's small, easy to squeeze. Hope you didn't hear that. Oh, no, that's not him. So, all right, we know that there is evidence that says that the standards are, according to the National Association of School Nurses, 1 to 750. We're way below that on our ratios. We're always putting out fires. We're not here for our jobs. I just ran into someone and they said, are you here for your job? I'm like, no, I'm here for the kids. Most of us are either nurse practitioners, masters in education, masters in nurses. We're marketable. We're here for the kids. 1 in 4 kids has a health condition. They don't have insurance. They don't have money. We're it. I feel like I'm here fighting for clean water and clean air. This is basic. This is just basic. And I can't believe I'm done.
I'm Kathy Ryan. I'm a school nurse at Lincoln High School. Student health is strongly linked to academic success, and the academic success of students is strongly linked to their health. So helping students stay healthy should be a fundamental part of the mission of schools. Schools cannot achieve their mission of education when students are unhealthy. Whether your child is in good health or not, a registered nurse at school can recognize medical issues that may have been missed and be a powerful advocate to ensure the health and medical safety of the children. Reductions in school nurse staffing come at a time when the need is increasing because over 30% of our students have chronic medical conditions that affect their performance at school. San Diego Unified has already cut school nurses, assigned them to cover more schools, or delegated healthcare activities to less qualified individuals such as health technicians. Making a comparison to education, would you consider replacing a teacher with a teacher's assistant? Because that's what you're talking about when you're talking about putting health techs in. Thank you.
I have a presentation for each of you to refer to as I speak. My name is Kathleen Burke. I am the credentialed school nurse at Rowan, Rolando Park, and Joyce Mead Elementary Schools. I want to talk with you about medications, which really are a problem when nurses are not on site. I have staff that go ahead and give out medications without looking at the order because they don't have the skill to analyze those things. I've talked in here about new medications need review by the registered nurse and about problems that occur when wrong doses are given. We had a student at one of my schools, psychotropic medication was supposed to be 1 milliliter. The staff gave 3 milliliters, 3 times the dose for this child without consulting me first. I have a medication record here with a lot of holes in it. You can see medications are not given at all of the schools like they're supposed to be. Have a look at the asthma inhalers. Have a look about diabetes. You can take notes, and I can email this to you.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kathleen. Okay, is Dr. Terrace here yet? Call him if not. Dave Irving, Francine Maxwell, Erica Glenn, Lisa Ellis, and Eileen Griffiths.
My name is Dave Irving, parent and teacher. As of February, California was still the 8th largest economy in the world, yet our public school teacher salaries rank only 17th within the United States. After nearly a decade of cuts to education, our public schools are struggling to provide what is assumed to be the advantage of living in the United States. Yet this state, with its massive economy, is continually deprioritizing education, stunting its growth and potential. Public universities are raising tuitions, reducing class offerings, and increasing GPA entrance requirements. Meanwhile, schools are straining in their ability to meet minimum expectations. Many students who do graduate are looking out of state due to costs, thereby creating a brain drain away from California. As we as education professionals need to be on the forefront of dictating what is sufficient funding. We cannot continue to rationalize the need for cuts in education due to the economy when we enjoy the 8th largest economy in the world. We can no longer blame teacher salaries for budget problems when we rank 17th in the U.S. Really, we should be ranked 8th in the world. We can blame ourselves if we fail to determine our own fate by accepting less than what is adequate, or if we neglect to push the state for what is necessary to educate the residents of our great state. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name's Eileen Griffiths. I'm a school nurse since 1998, and I love my job. Love the kids. Love all you staff members who work so hard. I'm going to finish reading this letter from Dr. Welch's Asthma and Allergy Group because they're one of the main groups in the county. We're writing to support the continuation of school nurses in the schools. Asthma is one of the most common chronic childhood conditions and a leading cause of school absence. That equals ADA. We have firsthand knowledge and keen awareness of how these nurses actively contribute to improve control of asthma in school-age children. They are able to identify problems with the child's asthma early on and provide the services needed, such as health education, physician referral, prevent more serious health problems which could be more costly and difficult to address later. Some examples of their work include help in early detection, so treatment is started, asthma education, how to use an asthma inhaler, serve as a reporter when the symptoms are increasing or under good control, counsel students and families, and, this is a very important issue, and page 14 does not really, it's misleading about the centralized nursing issue. So more to continue next time.
Okay, thanks.
Board. My name is Erica Glenn, and I'm a graduation coach at Patrick Henry High School. Miss Ellis behind me and I are here to talk about the option of reducing our work year calendar from a 12-month calendar down to a 203-day 11-month calendar. We are asking this for the following reasons. Due to the fact that the district has put the responsibility of the budgets onto the schools, and due to the fact that we are in a 12-month position, this has left the principals with no choice but to cut many of the positions that are in the graduation coach position, and this has had significant impacts on the schools, and even greater than that, the district. The board just approved the APEX program at the price of over $1 million. That money will be wasted if there are no professionals who are trained to run the program that has been funded. Not only do graduation coaches teach the APEX program, but many and most are mentors to the district's iHigh program, and that program will suffer as well. Also at this point, the district is not funding summer school, having APEX as the only option for any student that has to graduate that has failed a class. class. We have had 5,000 students in the district in Apex and have completed over 11,000 courses in the last 3 years. This year alone, 1,600 credits. We understand that California is in a budget crisis, and we as graduation coaches want to do our part. By reducing our contract, we can not only save the district money, but jobs will be saved, and over $1 million the district spent on the program will not go to waste. Thank you.
And my name is Lisa Ellis. I am the graduation coach at Sarah High School, and I've been asked to speak on behalf of the graduation coaches to educate the school board about the district's credit recovery program, the continuation of the graduation coach position, and working with dropout prevention. Since 2008, we've had graduation coaches at all 16 comprehensive high schools as well as atypical schools. As a group, we've received at district expense over 500 hours of professional development to support, tutor, and mentor students, as well as to navigate a complex online system. As Erica stated, last month the board voted to continue our software contract with Apex Learning at a tune of $1.3 million plus. Erica also gave you our data. To date, over 11,400 credits have been recovered to help our students graduate, and this year we're already at 1,671. This position and program is essential to help us graduate all of our students. Since the implementation of the credit recovery labs and the graduation coach positions, everywhere we have seen an increase in the graduation rate, a decrease in the dropout rate, along with a positive impact on the district's AYP.
Thank you. Francine Maxwell, Jenna McPherson, Morris Dye, Velia Gonzalez, and Stacy Monreal. No, if none of those speakers are here, Morris, please come forward. Yeah, Morris, go ahead. Yeah.
Hello, I'm Morris Dye. I'm president of Friends of SCPA, the School of Creative and Performing Arts. I'm going to try and cram this 4-minute speech into 1 minute. I'd like to ask you to maintain the SCPA magnet, and it's a magnet. Maintain the magnet program. You have to maintain the transportation for it, supporting the buses. There's been some suggestions for changes to the transportation system. I'm on the Tiger team that we're working on right now for that, so I'm assuming that you're going to wait for us to finish what we're doing and incorporate that into your changes. The assessment of community meetings just that have gone out to the clusters and so on haven't been very good in my opinion. There's been a lot of talk from the administration, not much dialogue with the parents and people giving suggestions. So I just want to point that out. And also this report is a PowerPoint. It's not really a report, and it'd be nice if we could get it before the day of the hearing. To build a school foundation, a good school district, you need a strong foundation. Start from there and build up. I'd submit to you that the arts are one of the base stones of that foundation. In San Diego, that base stone is the School of Creative and Performing Arts, no other. It is the only... Anybody want to give me a minute? No? No. All right, sorry. Support SCPA.
All right.
First of all, I'd like to thank you all of you at the board for allowing me to speak on behalf of my daughter, Emma Mae McPherson, and those of us at Adams Elementary. As we all know, we're all here to try to figure out and balance this district budget. And it's got to be incredibly hard for all of you guys to make these decisions. We're so disappointed to hear about the layoffs that are taking place at our school, because it's really like a family for our children. Next year alone, obviously, K through 3 class size will be increased from 20 students to almost 30, 29. I just don't feel our children can receive a proper education. I have a child that's legally blind and has a heart condition and a lot of other special needs. And just alone in her second grade class, our teacher has 2 other special needs children, and they're just not receiving the attention that they need. And now that we're going to take away $6 million next year from special needs children, they're not going to be receiving these aids and all this extra help. And it's just devastating, because I keep hearing over and over again that no child should be left behind, but these children are being left behind. It's just not right. My husband and I have gone to private Catholic school. We have gone to look into independent, we just don't know what to do. I just feel that you guys, please don't cut back the monies for these children that need it so desperately in special ed. Please just rethink this so very much. I just keep hearing No Child Left Behind, and I'm telling you, they are being left behind.
Thanks very much.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Belia González y soy voluntaria de la Escuela Marshall y nada más quiero darle las gracias por esta manera. Estoy contenta de haber oído ahora que más dinero fue reservado para los servicios de policías de las escuelas. Ojalá que esto quiera decir que a nosotros de Marshall Elementary no nos afecte para el siguiente año escolar. Y es muy importante que nuestros hijos estén seguros en su escuela. Gracias.
Good evening. I will be interpreting for her. Good evening. My name is Velia Gonzalez, and I'm a volunteer at Marshall Elementary. Thank you for having me. I am very happy to have heard now that more money was reserved for the police services at the schools, especially Marshall. I hope that this means that for us at Marshall Elementary, it will not affect us next year. It's very important that our children remain safe in their school. Thank you.
Stacy Monreal, Rihanna Wirtz, Roselia Beltran, Victoria Lucero. And while they're getting up, Ethel Larkins, Lance Wren, and Kathy Deacon.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Victoria Lucero. I am a parent at Marshall Elementary School. I am here to talk about the cuts of the third grade teacher, the teachers K through third. I am a parent of a third grade teacher at Marshall Elementary. My son has an amazing teacher. Excuse me. I would hate to see this teacher go because she takes her job more and beyond. She's there every day and she teaches awesomely. I mean, our teachers, our schools need more teachers like this that take their job more higher than their expectations. My child is a little low in level, but she picked them up within one school year, and I just think that we need to continue to keep these teachers and not cut our teachers back. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good evening, Board. My name is Ethel Larkins, President of Operation Support Services, Chapter 724. On behalf of our school bus drivers and our landscaping department, I urge you to rework your approach affecting the magnet program and positions. As you know, the children and community count on these services, and over again, our landscaping department continues to get cut. I urge you to go back and look deeper. There are still areas to find funds. A well-maintained transportation department allows an equal access to quality education and the parents a choice whose right it is to make that choice where their children attend school. The talk is about a loss and cut of positions, but it's really about a loss and cut of to the families. Dedicated employees to the safe transportation of students looking to make positive educational choices. Employees and families that cannot afford a cut and loss, especially during these economic crises we find ourselves now facing. Families whose children attend the district schools. Thank you for your time.
Lance Wren, CSEA, Chapter 724, First Vice President. Classified workers are part of every student's school day. Custodian opens the school, bus driver gives the children a ride to school, paraeducator greets them at the gate, secretary marks their attendance, food service workers feed them, library technicians issue textbooks, bus drivers take them home, and when the kids leave, custodians clean the school. I have left someone out, though, the landscaper. And this is usually the way it is because sometimes landscapers feel as if they're invisible at our school sites. We only notice the landscapers when the grass is too tall. However, landscapers have more to do in protecting our children than most people think. When a very large branch broke off of a pine tree at Euclid and was lodged between two trees over 50 feet above the ground over the walkway from the Child Development Center to my campus at Euclid. It was a landscaper who noticed it. His expertise probably saved a child's life. In 2003, our landscapers division was decimated with massive layoffs. We have not recovered from that decision. We plead with you not to eliminate the 10 landscape positions and promise to work with you to identify savings to protect workers, all classified workers who have dedicated their lives to the education of the children of San Diego. Thank you.
Thank you, Lance. Rayanna Wirtz, Roselia Beltran, Kathy Deacon, Larry Isom, Kent Buckle, and Elaine Sabetti. Go ahead, Larry. Come on forward.
My name is Larry Isom. I'm a school bus driver. I work for San Diego Unified School District. Nice to see everybody again. Scott, this is the first time we've met. Nice to meet you. I hope you guys, I'm not going to talk about what everybody else is telling you what you can't, save our programs. I want to have a shift in consciousness. Bill, I want you to think outside the box a minute and start thinking about how can you push back? What other school boards are having to make these kind of cuts? As an organizer, get together with them and push back towards to the state. Don't meet your deadline intentionally. Why not? Why not say no to cuts? Why not say we can do something else, state, because we've had enough, and we're not going to have any more cuts in education. Thanks, guys.
Elaine Sabetti on behalf of CSEA OTBS. There are a lot of ideas that are presented as cost savings tonight. Let me speak to some of the ideas I've heard pertaining to library staffing that won't save money. We can't replace library technicians with library assistants. They're very different jobs. They're not interchangeable. We can't replace them with teachers or principals. We can't transfer that bargaining unit work. We can't replace library technicians with clerks. We settled that with a group reclass in the 90s. We can't unilaterally demote a Library Tech 2 by asking them to continue doing the same work for less pay by working as a Library Tech 1. Even in the presentation tonight, there's still some confusion between page 18 and 21 and the total number of classified library staff. If we aren't clear about library staffing, how can we possibly be clear about how many libraries we are closing? There are no easy decisions left. You have charged school sites with cutting off their left arm or their right. Good programs will be cut. Good people will lose jobs. Children will be hurt. But will any of that truly result in cost savings? We need to be sure of that before we move forward.
My name is Mary Denherter, and I did sign up to speak. I'm the School Library Tech 2 at Longfellow K-8 Spanish Immersion Magnet School, and I too want to address the issue of libraries. If we're going to cut library programs, we must find a way to do it equitably. If library cuts are allowed to be a site-based decision, how do you uphold your stated commitment to allow all children equal access to district facilities? How can you allow some libraries to close and others to remain open? I would like to remind everyone that the San Diego taxpayers built our school libraries with Prop MM money. California taxpayers filled them with books and computers using the California Library Act money. This district has invested millions of dollars in school library facilities, materials, circulation software, and in training the library staff. We have a fiduciary responsibility to keep them open or protect them as future assets. We, of course, advocate keeping them open. We must prove to the taxpayers that we are making responsible decisions regarding the money they have already given us before we can ask for more. Thank you.
Thanks.
Good evening. My name is Kent Buckholz. I'm a CSEA staff representative representing the Operations Support Services Unit. Frankly, as you've heard from several of the speakers before, we're deeply disappointed in the proposals that were made here tonight. Our students, parents, and staff can ill afford many of these proposed cutbacks. For example, cutting transportation services for the Magnet and Veeps would be a travesty for students and their parents. Please remember that a major part of the education process involves getting the kids to these schools and back safely and on time. And that is precisely what our bus drivers do every single day. Speaking of the magnets, a few years ago when this issue came up previously, Julian Betts, a professor of economics at UCSD, said, quote, busing for magnets really does help level the playing field. It means that children from poorer families have a ready way to get across town to a really appealing school. It's very important that you do everything you can to find the resources necessary to support and continue those programs. As it stands, we are down to bare bones in regards to staffing. Many of these proposals would do a further disservice to our students, parents, and dedicated staff. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Lori Nixon, Letta Bender, Deborah Connors, and Amy Quinney.
Okay, when I say Palo, you say Mar. Palo. Palo. All right. Hi, guys. My name is Lori Nixon, and you might have guessed I'm one of the beautiful staff members at the beautiful Palomar Outdoor School. I could be selfish. And say this is about me and my coworkers losing our jobs and stability and all the hours we spend away from our families and boyfriends and things. But this is really about the youth of San Diego. This is really about keeping OSILE together so that our kids can experience nature and bond with people from other parts of our district. We see kids with different health problems, different social issues. Most of them are normal. Thank you very much. You guys, good job on that one. But we know that outdoor ed, it helps students build self-esteem, conflict resolution, peer relations, problem solving, motivation to learn, classroom behavior, and not to mention test scores, guys. Science scores improved with outdoor education. OSILE deserves to fundraise. Grants, foundations, cans for camp. We want to do it. Let us fundraise, please.
Members of the board, I'm Lita Bender, a retired science educator from the county and vice chair of San Diego Children and Nature Collaborative. On behalf of our board and its 350 members, I encourage you to keep Palomar Outdoor School as an important opportunity for sixth graders to learn about the natural world and their relationship with it, to connect with nature. Having been to sixth grade camp as a teacher chaperone, I know that Camp Palomar is the perfect opportunity for students to learn hands-on science along with history and native culture. Keep this successful program. Other districts have sixth grade camp funding supplemented by parents who can pay for it, PTA fundraisers to defray some cost, and sponsors from camperships. Please consider the possible ways to reduce outdoor education's drain on the well, but don't suspend it. Once lost, it would be difficult to reestablish. All of us at San Diego Children and Nature believe outdoor education provides a better future for our students, and through their environmental stewardship, a better future for our communities and our world. Thank you.
I'm Deborah Connors. I'm a registered credentialed school nurse, and I am the straight man for Lisa. I don't have lifesavers for you. I have had the honor to work with over 130,000 children who have come to Palomar over the last 15 years. And I also want to make a point of thanking the credentialed school nurses in the city for making that happen. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for that. I'm coming to you, though, because I understand I want to acknowledge the financial difficulty that is going on. There's no denying it. But I'm also, and we didn't even plan this, asking you to consider an alternative. Allow us to charge a fee. The county has 29 districts with 104 schools with with projected 11,500 students who fundraise, who obtain camperships, and who find ways of coming. The county does it with all those other districts. You ask, what's best for the child? Give them a chance to earn the experience to come. Consider that Palomar Outdoor School can move forward to a fee basis, and don't limit us to an all or nothing. It's a lose-lose for everybody. Thank you.
My name's Amy Quinney. I've been a teacher for 40 years. I'm retired for 3 years now. But I've spent quite a lot of time in San Diego City Schools, so I've had a lot of experience with everybody. When I look back at the first time I saw students who were returning after a week from Palomar, I see sparkling eyes, excited descriptions of their various activities pouring out, their words spilling out over each other's, explaining all about the experiences they had, elaborating on their adventures and discoveries, filled with enthusiasm and renewed interest in school. Not only had they discovered the magic of nature, but they had discovered themselves in a whole new light. They had been touched by the beauty of the vast natural environment and were thrilled to be able to explore and learn from their teachers at Palomar. New vistas were open to them. They were filled with confidence. These students had learned so much and experienced challenges in hiking and camping, participating in cooking meals, sharpening their senses. This is the magic that happens to young people who are in touch with nature, the endless opportunity to question and explore, to learn with their senses, their minds, and their hearts.
Thanks, Amy.
Okay.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Okay, Leslie Wilkinson, Eric Wilkinson, and Robin Wilkinson.
Hi, my name is Leslie Wilkinson, and I'm currently a parent, but from 1971 to 1981, I was a seminar student most of that time, except that my junior high didn't have any, and I know what it feels like to need more challenge and to be bored in school on occasion, because mostly I was protected from that by the seminar program. So, we've had this special program in this district for almost 50 years because in the past, really bright children were dropping out in droves, and it really worked. And unlike other large urban school districts, this district keeps our brightest students in our schools, keeping their test scores and their ADA money in our schools with this really special program. You can save and protect this program by making it mandatory, but not, unfortunately, I think you're not going to be able to fund the class size reduction, which is tough for these really challenging kids. But if you at least make it mandatory and give this tiny fraction of money to move the school psychologists back into the GATE budget instead of which you're not losing that money, but into the GATE budget so they can just identify the kids, that's all that's needed. Thank you very much.
My name is Eric Wilkinson. I'm an 8th grader in the Stanley Middle Seminar program. Seminar is important to me because without seminar, I was bored. In 2nd grade, I got in trouble routinely because I was reading Harry Potter under my desk when I was supposed to be paying attention. If seminar got axed, this would be horrible because, for example, there's no GATE science right now, and in my science class, I'm getting really bored because I know most of the stuff because we went over it in 6th grade seminar course. Please, please, please don't cut seminar. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Robin Wilkinson. I am a 4th grader in a seminar class at Hawthorne Elementary. In normal school, I was bored. I had all the answers, but I could only say a few. When I got to seminar, it stretched my mind and made me learn. Other kids like me have been bored too. If you cut seminar, then we would all be bored, and the potential to be future geniuses would be wasted. Thank you.
All right. Anne Marie Haney, Karen Childress Evans, Michael Delia, Cindy Martin, and Maria Chi. Now, go ahead. Yeah.
My name is Michael Delia. I'm the lead teacher for the STARS program at Mission Bay High School. In a minute, I can't begin to explain the program. I'm going to leave that to some of the parents that are here tonight and some of the emails that you will be receiving from them explaining how we've changed the lives of some students. What I am here to say is that the reason this program was started over 15 years ago was to save the district money because we could not provide for our students, and they were going out to non-public schools, and we were paying for it. This program was created to save money, and you keep cutting and cutting and cutting, and we will no longer be able to offer a program and stop our kids from going out to non-public schools on our dime. So please reconsider the cuts to the STARS program and leave it as it was modeled to begin with, which is successful and has been working for over 15 years. Thank you.
Good evening. Anne Marie Haney, Community Council for Music in the Schools. I have been working as a volunteer in support of music education in San Diego Unified. Now it's over 41 years, working very closely with the Visual Performing Arts Department. VAPA, which we hear about and see in print, is the elementary music teachers who go to 100 in elementary schools, and in addition to 11 secondary schools, keeping their music alive where it has suffered in the past and needs to recover. When we talk about VAPA, we think of central office, some of us who don't understand. These are the music teachers who are the children's music teachers at their schools. If the responsibility for administering this program is left to the sites, trust me, our music will be gone. It will first disappear in our elementary schools because even school sites that can get the money can't contract a credentialed teacher, part-time, no benefits. Believe me, if music disappears from our schools, we're going to lose money. I want our budget director to know that when you have 260 students or 400 students for one or two teachers and that teacher's gone, you have to hire additional teachers because those students will be in class with someone. Thank you.
Thanks, Henry.
My name is Karen Childress Evans. I'm the Director of Visual and Performing Arts for San Diego Unified School District. You are getting my speech tonight because I don't have enough time to deliver it. Please read it. I want to point out some misunderstandings that may influence the way you interpret the proposal for central office cuts. Fact 1, the VAPA department has 4 resource teachers. These teachers are in charge of writing arts integrated lessons for English language arts and science that focus on English language learner proficiency. This curriculum is the foundation of 2 $1 million grants. The competition for these 2 prestigious grants was overwhelmingly difficult, and those few districts who were awarded this funding are currently held in high esteem both statewide and nationally. The elimination of our 4 resource positions and ultimately these 2 grants will not only erase $2 million of funding to our district, but will eliminate arts integration to 45 elementary schools, hundreds of teachers, and thousands of students. Please read it.
Thanks.
It's got some clear stuff for you. Thanks.
Hi.
Hi, Maria.
My name is Maria Chi. I am the mother of Laisha Galvan. She's my daughter. She's a student in Central Elementary. And I am here because I believe in good education, and that's what we have had until now. She has been a really good student. She's in kindergarten right now. What can I say? Teachers in Central Elementary are great. Since Head Start, I've had really good teachers for my child. Our kids are the future, and we need to have good students in order to have a good future. Every issue discussed today is really important, but our students spend most of the time in their classrooms, and that's why I believe that we should keep 17 to 1 in each classroom. I believe if the more students we have in a classroom, it's going to be more stress for the teachers, leading to bad education for them. So please consider keeping the 17-1. It's very important for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Cindy Martin. I'm the principal from Central Elementary, and you know the Central way is work hard, be kind, dream big, no excuses. And I realize that I'm dreaming really big when I'm talking about saving a program right now that puts 17 children in the classroom kindergarten through second grade. But that's what I'm here talking about tonight. I've spent 8 years building a staff of 36 teachers who are completely committed to the promise and hope that public education can offer. 3 years ago, we were given a tremendous opportunity, and too often we are accused of starting something, funding something, spending a lot of money on something, and then not following up to see whether or not it works. But at Central, we have figured out what's working. And 3 years ago, when we started this bold experiment, this expensive program to reduce class sizes for our most vulnerable students, we wanted to try it. And I promised this Board of Education at the time, if you gave us this opportunity, we would show you a return on the investment. We would come back to you 3 years later and tell you whether or not it's working. I have the data to show you now. The kindergarten students that you funded at 17-1 3 years ago when they started at our school are achieving at a rate 22% higher than any other second grade class that we've seen. This program is working, and we're asking to be able to continue it. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Okay, we're going to take a 5-minute break. We've got several more public speakers, but we'll take a 5-minute break.
Thank you. Evan's already had his first resolution.
That's to support the governor. Huh? That's your resolution to support the governor. Yeah. Yes.
Exactement aussi.
J'ai cru sur histoire maintenant.
We teach in French from K1 and 2, and then after second grade, in third grade, they start having English, and eventually they balance out and they become bilingual in both. So they have a lot of enthusiasm for learning. Their hands.
I come here once a week, and I spend like a couple of hours in this room and a couple of hours in the other room. And it's great for the kids. It's extra support for the teacher, and I think the kids like having an outside. It's great. I'm French, my husband's American, and it was very important for me for them to be bilingual. Obviously, we speak it at home, but I don't have the writing, I don't have the reading, and full immersion was a perfect solution for us. My son in 4th grade now is just completely bilingual, and reads and write in English, because by 3rd grade they start doing English. So it's been a blessing for me.
One thing that's really good about being in this program is whether you're speaking in French or you're speaking in Spanish, you get to find out about those cultures, and also you get to find out how to use your brain about deductive reasoning. And that's something you can use in any field of study.
I can have fun and learn a new language and then teach it to my mom.
San Diego 6 News in the morning.
Well, we're going to meet a star student of the week, the month, the year. What do you got there, Ruben?
Yeah, Star Student of the Month. It's that time again here live. Man Middle School, give it up! Oh, yes. Home of the Cougars. We're going to have a great time this morning. Are y'all ready? Come on, give me a high five. Are you ready? Come on, let's do this. Let's do this. All right, everybody in their places. Everybody in their places. Well, let me tell you, they know how to dance. They know how to get down here at Manton Middle School. It was built back in 1952. An estimated 800 students attend school here. And you know, the thing I love about this school the diversity. So many different backgrounds from so many different countries. And I love it. I love the energy. Oh, yeah, the cheerleaders, the band doing their thing this morning. But it's not wasting any time. And bring up the one and only Esther, our school principal. Come on, girls. Give it up for Esther. It's good to see you. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I am doing fantastic. I am fantastic.
Great.
All right, so what message would you like to get out to our folks? Because, look, this is the deal. It's not only about highlighting Reuben Star Student of the Month, but it's also about highlighting school pride.
All right, I want the community to know that we are a high-performing middle school. We've been able to change the culture at Man, and we're a very diverse community. We're proud of our teachers and our students.
All right, and why are you so proud of all these students out here?
We were able to transform the culture of the school in 3 years, and last year we grew by 96 points on the API. We've done a phenomenal job, and it's because of the commitment of the staff and students.
Go on ahead now. Go on ahead. Thank you so much, Esther. I really appreciate that. In the meantime, let's bring up some students. Come on, guys. Come on over here. All right. And as I mentioned earlier, during the 7 o'clock hour, we're going to highlight and surprise Reuben Star Student of the Month, not only for their hard work inside the classroom, but for also their hard work outside the classroom. So, do you think you're Reuben Star Student of the Month? Do you think you're Reuben Star Student of the Month? Reuben? Reuben. That's me, man. I don't know. Oh, my gosh. I love him. How you doing? Why do you love this school so much?
School is a place of education, new beginning, and a fresh start you will achieve.
All right, let's come on over here because, oh, yeah, it's not that time to wrap up right now. Go on ahead. Come on, kids. How you doing? These are our finalists right here. All these kids, they are finalists for Reuben Star Student of the Month. Let's get some reaction. How you doing this morning? You doing all right? Yeah. Are you a little nervous this morning? Are you excited?
I'm excited.
Okay. Well, in the meantime, this is what it's all about. Here at Man Middle School, City Heights, the big surprise. Reuben Star Student of the Month coming up a little bit later on. Come on, give it up, guys. Back to you, the station.
All right, Reuben.
Thanks.
A lot of action at 6:45 in the morning at the middle school.
They're middle schoolers.
Why not?
Yeah, they need like an hour's sleep and,
And good morning, San Diego. We're here live in City Heights at Man Middle School. That's right. We're getting ready to highlight Reuben Star Student of the Month. Who will it be? We'll find out. All this and more when San Diego 6 in the morning continues. And good morning, San Diego. We're here live in City Heights at Man Middle School. That's right. We're getting ready to highlight Reuben Star Student of the Month. Who will it be? We'll find out. All this and more when San Diego 6 in the morning continues. And good morning, San Diego. We're here live in City Heights at Man Middle School. Yeah, that's right. Getting ready to announce Reuben Star Student of the Month. Who will it be? I don't know. We'll find out in 10 minutes. Oh, yeah, come on back now. Come on back.
All right, Reuben, what are you doing?
Feeling hot, baby. I am feeling hot. Hey, guys, we're here live in City Heights at Man Middle School. Give it up. Oh, yeah. How about this side? Come on, give it up. Oh, it is that time again to highlight Reuben Star Student of the Month. Who will it be? Who will it be?
Me.
Okay, who will it be on this side? All right, well, this is the deal. We highlight Reuben Star Student of the Month for their hard work outside of the classroom and also inside of the classroom. Now, let me tell you something. This was a tough decision because, as you can see, there are so many students out here. Come on, kids, give it up this morning. We had so many finalists this year, so many finalists, but we love them all, but I can only choose one student. So in the meantime, let's go and introduce the one and only. Here she is, our principal, Esther. Come on over here, Esther. Come on up, Esther. Thank you so much for being out here. You have an estimated 800 students out here. This school was built back in 1952. Why do you love them so much?
I love my students and my teachers because they are committed to the academic work that we have set out to do. Our students come from a diverse community. We speak about 35 different languages, and in spite of it, we have continued to excel on the tests.
All right now, round of applause! My gosh! All right, so this is the deal. We love to tease. We love to tease our viewers. So without giving the name or gender, why does this particular student deserve this award and the recognition?
This student exemplifies everything we aspire for all students at MAN to be. The student was nominated because they participate in clubs, after-school activities. They're an awesome student in the classroom. They persevere. They're a bundle of joy. They're who I call a teacher's delight.
All
We're
right.
very glad to nominate the student.
Delight. Right, kiddos? We like delight. All right, so this is the deal. Reuben Star Student of the Month is Jasmine May. Jasmine, come on up. There she is. Come on, big round of applause. Come on up, Jasmine. Come on up. Congratulations. Yes. All right. How you doing? What are your thoughts? What is your big reaction?
I'm shocked. I don't even know what's going on.
Well, you're Reuben Star Student of the Month. Can you believe it? Out of the whole district, out of the whole county, you have been chosen for your hard work and your good grades. What do you have to say to all your fellow students and your school?
Thank you, guys. I love you guys. It's like one of the best years ever now.
All right! Yes! So what do you want to do when you grow up, Jasmine?
I want to be a musician or a photographer.
Okay, and who's your favorite artist?
I like Usher.
Usher? Who likes Usher? Come on now. Come on. Oh, I love Usher. Well, you know, on behalf of San Diego 6 and some of our sponsors, we have some great gifts for you, all right? So this was given to us by our friends in North Park Trophy. Come on, give it up for North Park Trophy. All right, hold on to this, Jasmine. Hold on to this because I have some other gifts for you. Come on over here. Come on over here. All right, one of my favorite dessert places in Little Italy, Extraordinary Desserts. Woo! Go ahead and hold that. All right. San Diego 6 bag with a family pack of Legoland tickets. Go ahead and hold that. And also, my friends from Sony headquarters, a new video camera. There you go, Jasmine. I'm going to have to give this. Yeah, we'll switch. Why don't we do that? What are your thoughts? What do you have to say?
Thank you to everyone, for all my teachers, for giving me my education and nominating me for this.
All right. That's how it is. That's how it is. Here in Love at Man Middle School. Again, thank you to all the kids. One more time, let's highlight the best of the best. Right here on this side. Give it up, Cougars, on this side. All right, guys, when we come on back, we're going to be highlighting Jasmine. We're going to get to know you a little bit more one-on-one. Is that all right?
That's all right.
You want to give a shout out to anybody out there?
My mom.
All right, we love you, Mom. Bye, guys. Have a good morning.
Thanks, Reuben. Congratulations.
She's so cute.
You're so cute,
Best year ever.
I know. She said now it's the best year ever. That's great.
Thank you so much, guys.
All right.
You did an awesome
Congratulations.
job. Good morning, San Diego. We're here live in City Heights at Man Middle School. That's right. We're hanging out with our one and only Star Student of the Month. All this and more when San Diego 6 in the morning continues.
All right. Thanks, Renee. We're getting back out to Reuben to see what's up ahead with his students this morning. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
Good morning. Hi, Linda. You want to say something? Anyway, I'm just kidding. I had to pick on you. Tomorrow's your last day. I'm so sad. But in the meantime, we're hanging out with Reuben Star Student of the Month, Jasmine Mick. Yes. Okay, so we're going to catch up with her. She's Reuben Star Student of the Month. She's 14 years old, an 8th grader here at Man Middle School. She loves Justin Bieber. And she also plays the trumpet. So we're going to get some inside scoop right here directly from our Star Student of the Month, Jasmine Mick, when we come on back. Come on back now. Right, guys? Come on. That's you guys in the stage, and have a good morning.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, Reuben.
Thank you.
This morning, Reuben out live at Man Middle School with his Star Student of the Month. All right, let's get back to Reuben. He's out at Man Middle School with Jasmine, his Star Student of the Month. Hey, Reuben.
Yeah, hey, guys. You know what? She deserves it. Another big round of applause for Jasmine Mick. Here live in City Heights, Man Middle School. She is 14 years old in 8th grade, can you believe it? And she loves Justin Bieber. Before we get to Jasmine, we really want to congratulate all the faculty members who actually voted for Jasmine. Come on, pat on the back for yourself. And what is your name?
Paul Bjork.
Okay, and what do you do here?
8th grade vice principal.
Good stuff.
Susie Fahey, 7th grade vice principal.
All right.
Courtney Young, 6th grade vice principal.
And Courtney, why do you love the school so much, and what can people expect this semester?
Well, This semester we are preparing to participate in the San Diego County Science Fair, and a large group of our 8th graders are preparing to head off to the East Coast, Washington, D.C.
All right. And what about our principal, Esther? I mean, just look at Jasmine. What would you like to tell her?
Jasmine is an awesome student. I'm proud to see her in 8th grade. I'll hate to see her go, but I know I have to release her so she can come back to us. She's very well prepared, and we're very sure that Jasmine will accomplish all she sets her mind to accomplish.
Oh, fantastic. And give it up for John, our band director.
Good morning.
Good morning. So, John, let's talk about, this is really important to let all of our viewers know. This school was without a band for quite some time, but 4 years ago, y'all brought it back. Why?
Because we felt like this area was ready for a change, both culturally and artistically. They brought a band back. It helped achieve better API testing scores, and it's really improved the culture on the campus a lot.
I like that. It's motivating kids, it's disciplining kids, and it gives them something to look forward to. Great job, great job. All right, yes, great job, great job, great job, great job. Jasmine. All right, so this is what I want to know. Okay, so let's go ahead and recap. You want to be a musician when you grow up, huh? Mm-hmm. So describe, how do you plan on doing that?
I want to go to college and just get a degree for being a conductor like Mr. Kylo, and just learn as much instruments as I can.
Okay, and you describe yourself as a tomboy. Why a tomboy?
Because I'm not really a tomboy, but I mix it up with my girliness and my tomboy mixed together. Because I play sports and everything. I'm not your average little teenage girl.
I like that. So you're tough. Come on now. Come on. All right, so let's talk about your trumpet. Why did you choose to play the trumpet in middle school?
It looked like a fun instrument because I played clarinet before and I kind of got tired of it, so I just switched on and I fell in love with it.
And why is Mann Middle School so special right here in your heart?
Well, my brothers and my uncles and my aunts came to this school as a kid, and
Okay, let's get started again. Please take your seats. Okay, I'm going to call up Victoria Pletner-Saunders, Barbara Ponsicle, Germán Corrales, Juana, and I can't read Juana's last name, and Angela Knight. So again, Victoria Pletner-Saunders, Barbara Ponsicle, Germán Corrales, Juana, and Angela Knight.
My name is Victoria Pletner-Saunders, co-founder of the San Diego Alliance for Arts Education.
Can somebody help Victoria with the mic? it on?
Sounds good.
Is it?
It wore out.
It's worn out. Hold on just a second, Victoria.
There's muzzling the public.
Absolutely.
Check the device in front of you.
I don't think so. Okay. Sorry.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, thanks, Victoria.
My name is Victoria Pletner Saunders. I'm the chair and co-founder of the San Diego Alliance for Arts Education. I'm here to speak to you on behalf of the arts education community and the Visual and Performing Arts Department. The Alliance for Arts Education has consistently communicated a message of collaboration and partnership with the district when it comes to making decisions that affect the Visual and Performing Arts Department budget. The Alliance, the board, and the superintendents have committed to working together to ensure that budget cuts to the department do not disproportionately and negatively affect curriculum-based student learning in and through the arts. However, the budget recommendations before you for the VAPA department do not reflect our community input in the decision-making process. I respectfully request that the board direct the superintendent to go back and revisit the VAPA recommendations with the VAPA staff and the arts education community and to hammer out a compromise that's mutually beneficial. That I have to come before you and ask for this in this setting is disappointing given our efforts to create a positive working relationship with the district.
Good evening. My name is Barbara Pongshirkol, and I'm the community-based English tutoring coordinator with San Diego Community College District. The CBET program is on the list for elimination, as we were last year, and we were reduced by half last year. So we're just asking to keep the program again this year and just have it reduced. We have 10 classes currently right now. What we do is our parents go into the elementary school classrooms and they tutor one-on-one. Since I've coordinated the program since 2007, we've probably tutored about 10,000 children in the elementary schools and along with the children at home, the parents' children. We've collected data since 1999 when we started the program, and we have a lot of data showing that the program does help with student achievement. And this helps children become more powerful readers. Also, a lot of our parents are volunteers in elementary schools where they tutor the children. Okay, so the program is something that is helping children in the classroom. Thank you.
Thanks.
Hello, my name is Germán Corrales, and I am an uncle of a student from Freeze Elementary, and I'm back here today to express once again my concern for the cuts at Freeze. I really feel the cuts are unacceptable. I don't understand how anyone is expecting for each student to get the individual attention they need when we are nearly doubling the class size from 16 to 30 students per class. Another of the most significant cuts is the Magnet program. The Magnet program funds so many great things such as art, dance, music, puppetry, and field trips to museums and performance. It really helps the students to develop confidence. It promotes individuality and to think beyond outside the box, to become more aware of our cultures and customs. This program means everything to the children. It encourages them to work harder in classrooms with a better attitude towards learning. And without it, I don't know what will happen to this school. The reason I am here today is to ask for your help to make you aware of this crisis that is happening to our school and to help understand why we desperately need the funds for our children and for a better tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I want to thank the teachers again and the counselors. And again, we need the nurses and we need the teachers because the children need a better tomorrow.
Hola, buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Juana Calixto. Yo tengo un hijo en Freeze y me gustaría que por favor nos regresen los fondos para la escuela. No creo que los niños vayan a aprender mejor con 30 niños por salón que ahora que tienen 17. Tengan en cuenta que no solo afectan a los maestros ni padres, sino que también principalmente afectan la educación de nuestros hijos. Gracias.
Good afternoon. My name is Juana Calixto. I have a child at Freeze, and I would like you to please return the funds to our school. I don't believe that the children are going to learn better with 30 students per classroom than now that they have 15 to 17. Please keep in mind that you're not only affecting the teachers and the parents, but you're also primarily affecting the education of our children. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Angela Knight, and I'm a parent from Freeze Elementary, located in District E. Freeze is funded at the lowest amount of $396 per student, yet our students have the highest needs, emotionally, physically, and academically. Many of our families struggle to make ends meet. Our students face many challenges like single-parent homes, foster families, incarcerated parents, grandparents raising grandkids. They need you to increase distribution of dollars per student so they can receive services they need. 30 kids in a classroom does not work, whether it be kindergarten or to 5th grade or whatever. I volunteer every day not to help my children, but to help other children who need extra attention that they cannot receive from a teacher that is spread too thin. Please keep our magnet resource teacher because without her, there is no magnet. Thank you.
Thank you. Patrice Breslow, Joan O'Hara, Pamela Moorhead, Julie Garoff.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Patrice Breslow, and I would like to relinquish my spot to Eileen Griffiths.
Back again. Principals have been given the difficult task to make cuts to staff at their sites. Unfortunately, they were not given information to make an educated and safe decision about a school nurse for their site. Health technicians are not school nurses. And please give us the opportunity to educate you about the importance of having a credentialed school nurse at your site. There are legal obligations that you must understand. Last week I left that information which listed the different responsibilities for a nurse versus a health technician. I haven't heard back from any of you that you have any questions about that information, so I'll email you again tomorrow. The Nursing and Wellness Program is in the business of prevention and early intervention. Much of what we do is not in the spotlight because we prevent the deaths, the 911 calls, the medication errors, and you don't hear about that. Nurses assess student health conditions and keep students in school. That's important. Please don't cut the nurses for the children's safety. Thank you.
My name is Pamela Moorhead, and I'm representing Johnson Elementary. Previously, the board was asked to continue to support the magnet funding at our school. However, we've been presented with the district's bare bones budget formula to fund our school. The elimination of our magnet funding, our science labs, and our support staff will dismantle the educational program Johnson has to offer its community, especially at a time when the district is experiencing difficulty closing its achievement gap and analyzing strategies to exit program improvement. To offer our school a bare bones educational system is counterproductive to the student achievement.
My name is Ariana, and I am a second grader at Johnson STEM Magnet School. I came here to let you know that I am the next doctor or allergist who might find a cure for asthma. I am the next... am the next aviation inspector to keep our aircraft safe in the air. I am the next aerospace engineer like Mae Jemison. And I'll be the second African American female astronaut at NASA to fly into space. I am the next computer programmer to write the language to tell the computers what to do. I believe I can be a scientist, a technology expert, an engineer, a mathematician, or a mathematician. That's what I've learned from my teachers and the STEM magnet at Johnson. Thank you for listening to me.
It's not fair. I have to follow.
Yeah. Tough one to follow, John.
Okay, Joan O'Hara from CSEA, paraeducator president. I've been here before. I think my major concerns when I speak to you was health and safety of the students. Okay. Now I know our health techs and our health assistants cannot replace nurses. However, we do have a position in the school to help supplement what they can do because they can't do it all by themselves either. Okay, and just taking weights and eye exams and all of that stuff that the nurse has to do, if somebody else is there to do it, she can fixate on more important things. Anyway, the libraries, you got to keep them open. How else are these kids going to get to computers? As far as the OSIL programs, as soon as those raccoons know nobody's going back up to Palomar, they're going to be moving right in. I can't believe my minute's over already. But anyway, those programs do more than just teach. They're a necessary thing. Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Hi, my name is Julie Goroff. My son is a STARS student at Mission Bay High School. The STARS program was originally designed to save money for the district, and it's continuing to do that. In the 6 years since my son joined the program, he's gone from a 5th grader whose outbursts would literally disrupt the entire campus to an 11th grader who is fully mainstreamed and successfully participating in the International Baccalaureate program. Without the presence of the STARS lead teachers and counselors on a daily basis, the kind of behavior problems that STARS students experience would spill out into the rest of the campus and have to be dealt with out there. Every dollar that you spend on STARS is going to save far more than $1 in resources that would otherwise have to be diverted from the mainstream administration. STARS is a perfect example of the phrase, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Howard Tarras, and I am my name is Howard Tarras, and I'm a pediatrician at UCSD. I am also the consulting doctor for this school district and about 11 other school districts in San Diego County. And so I am talking about the things that I see and how we compare. For one thing, we do have a higher concentration of children with very severe special health care needs in this school district per capita, probably because of the large medical centers here, Children's Hospital, and also because of the Navy, and they station people in San Diego. So it's a little bit different here, and it's always a little more complex. There's two things about the policy that I would like to address. One of them is the number of nurses being cut, and the other one is that principals get to choose whether they have any nurse at all on their staff assigned to that school. And I know that when there is no nurse assigned to a school, there's less likely to be a nurse at an IEP meeting and at a 504 meeting. And many times in that meetings, the health things come out. Many times, health things come out.
Go for like 10 seconds. Go ahead.
Health things come out of that meeting, and they decide, without a nurse there, on extraordinarily expensive resources like one-to-one nurse, one-to-one health aide, that are far, far more expensive and necessary to keep that child safe. And so having sometimes nurses there is better preventatively from a financial point of view. The second thing is...
Thanks, Dr. Terrace. Thanks very much. Yeah. Marlon Rice, Elizabeth Nagy, Katie Anderson, Sarah Sullivan, and Lucille Park.
First of all, I'd like to thank you, Board, for serving your community.
Thanks. Yeah.
And when I talk with the guys at work about schools, and we talk about where we live, and if it ever goes to any sort of detail, the first thing that comes up is class size. And I commiserate you on the tough cut decisions you have to make of nurses and landscapers and police officers. But Principal Cindy Martin at Central has given you some information about a deal she made with you 3 years ago, and seems as though she's done pretty well. And so I'm just here to speak for the small class size. It just seems to me to be the absolute most important thing. I may be wrong, so let's try to keep the class size small.
Thanks, Marlon. Thanks very much.
Hello, my name is Sarah Sullivan, and I'm the principal of a fabulous middle school, a school where teachers believe in the unlimited capacities of kids, where we have a project-based curriculum, where nobody is excluded from classes based on a designation such as GATE or special ed. We have a awesome performing arts program. We're a STEM school. We do a really good job, and the reason I'm here tonight is the transportation, the elimination of routes at a few schools so that we don't eliminate routes at most schools really hits us hard. It's 7 teachers, and that means that about 200 kids can no longer choose a program like our program. It means that I can no longer provide the program that we have because I don't have enough teachers. We'll go from 32 to 21. And that's not okay. If someone has to bear the burden, that burden needs to be distributed more equitably. It's just not right. Those teachers over there work their hearts out for our kids, and we can't undermine them this way. Thank you very much for listening.
Good evening. Katie Anderson, co-chair of GATE DAC, and I'm here with a budget-neutral issue. Isn't that nice? So the seminar groupings, we're taking our medicine, and it's awful, just like everybody else is having to. As the GATE DAC chair, I'm hearing that some programs are dismantling the seminar cohorts. So they're sprinkling them, they're mainstreaming them. And what I'm here to ask you to do is to create some sort of a policy that says that that's not okay. We need to keep these kids together. There's empirical evidence that shows that that's a necessity and that it helps those kids to succeed. And as far as cluster, now might be the time with the class size increasing to have those concentrated more as well, because those teachers are teaching to a huge spectrum, and if you're going to give them even more kids, then please reduce the spectrum that they're teaching to. So as far as seminar, and then as far as the restoration, that is important. This is important because we would not easily be part of that restoration program. So please create some kind of policy that prevents the sprinkling of those students. Thank you.
Thanks.
Good evening. My name is Lucille Park, and I'm an elementary instrumental music teacher in the VAPA department. And I want to tell you about a student. After a short concert, a few years ago, a grandmother came up to me and told me that the father of her grandson, who played the violin in my class, had lost his father 6 months ago. His father had been murdered. The grandmother told me that the boy really liked music and that it was good for him and that it helped him. I'm here for all the kids, and I'm here to give a voice for some of the kids that have less opportunity than some other students. I'm here for the kids at Choyas, Encanto, Rowan, Fries, and Fulton, where I was today, among some other schools. If you eliminate the VAPA department, then you are denying equal access to underprivileged students to curriculum that is required by the Ed Code, while a child at a more affluent school can go out and get private lessons and buy or rent an instrument. Kids at less affluent schools simply don't have the money to do so, and frankly, that is discrimination. Tonight's proposal says, quote, we need to maintain our priority on the classroom. If you cut music to 11,000 students, 11,000, you're affecting the classroom. And thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Elizabeth Nagy. Okay, great. Thanks. Juliet De La Paz. Tamara Hurley. Okay. Edith Smith. Rosa Penamuja. And Kathleen Miles.
Juliet De La Paz, registered credentialed school nurse. I may occupy one FTE, but I am San Diego Unified, okay? We, school nurses, are San Diego Unified. You are San Diego Unified. And I've addressed the board before, cuts to school nursing, and I think it's appropriate that last week was Groundhog Day, because here we are again. And we've had Lifesavers, we've had The Sound of Music. Well, I brought Yoda. Jedi Master. And the reason why I brought Yoda is because I'm also a Padre fan. And the Padres bring Yoda with him, to the dugout, because it's the rookie's job not only to keep him filled with snacks to feed the souls of the Padre fans, but of the Padre team members, but because he symbolizes something. That there's a force greater out there, right? Like this grown men, professional athletes carrying a stuffed animal that symbolizes there's a force out there that's greater than them. And I'm asking you to take a stand for our students and school nurses, realizing that there's a force out there greater than us, and investing in that can't go wrong.
Thanks.
My name is Rosa Penamoya, and I have 2 children at Central Elementary School. I am here because I want to beg you, each and every single one of you, to keep our lower ratio of teachers to students. I struggle with my daughter. I have been told that it's not for a lack of effort. She's not at school messing around. She follows the Central Way, and I know that her teachers is just as committed to her education as she is. And I cannot imagine how much harder it's going to be for me and my daughter if she has a lot more students in her classroom and her teacher has to take on that much more stress. I'm asking you not only this to help me, to help my daughter, and to help other parents and children, to help us keep our 13 teachers at our school. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Rosa.
My name is Kathleen Miles. I'm a site tech at Alba Community Day School. I'm distressed this year that there was no attempt at equity. For some schools, the budget reduction is a percentage so low that it can be counted by the fingers on one hand. Site councils and principals at Garfield, Twain, and Alba must make personnel reductions of 29%, 39%, and 22%, while those at some comprehensive sites look at personnel reductions in single digits. A more equitable approach would be for all disciplines to make a 10% reduction across the board. My objection to the budget recommendation is the utter lack of equity district-wide and the expectation that personnel at alternative sites are somehow more expendable than those at comprehensive sites. The alternative sites serve students' needs for which the comprehensive sites are ill-equipped. Students who require more individualized instruction, more counseling, more resources, and a new intensity engagement, one that is more personal, involving therapy and mental health resources. Group Dynamics is a comprehensive site.
Thanks, Kathleen.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. Yeah.
Good evening. My name is Edith Smith, and I'm here to thank each and every trustee for sitting in that seat, because I don't think anybody really wants to sit in that seat right now. I really appreciate the effort and energy that goes into doing such a good job. You've exercised some boldness in respect to the Title I funds and how that's going to graduate into the areas that have the most need. And I'm, again, expect that you're going to have to exercise some boldness where this budget is concerned. But I had a few things that I'd like for you to keep in mind. One is that we are a district in program improvement, and we can never, ever forget that as we make those budget cuts. The other thing is that in this district, as in a lot of places, is that I believe that our priorities are will, skill, and then money. And so while we are looking at the budget cuts, we need to keep in mind that is really how we line up. The other thing is that we need to look at the people that do not touch kids every day. Our cuts need to stay away from the people that touch kids every day and lean more toward the ones that don't. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Edith. Holly Churchill, Lori Vuros, Jennifer Osborne, Maria Tackett, and Michael Rabin.
Good evening, Holly Churchill, a parent. I wanted to speak today about GATE, Seminar, VAPA, and OSILE. Pick three acronyms. While our principal and teachers do value the arts and education and GATE and Seminar, with only about $200,000 to work with in the discretionary funds, there's not a lot left over. Once health and nurses and other things that are very necessary are paid for to support things that aren't the vital organs in people's opinions, and that includes GATE, VAPA, and OSILE. But they are vital organs to our children. My daughter is a seminar student. She loves the challenge and the pace of GATE and Seminar, and she writes, and I'll give you her letter in full, I really think VAPA is important. Last year I got a violin, and I was waiting for this year to learn how to play it. Since they cut band in 4th at my school, and now they can't have it in 5th, when am I going to learn to play my pretty violin? I have waited so long. We waited for 5 years to have her in an ensemble. That's my addendum. And we cannot afford private lessons. If you were to be a fly on the wall at school sites, playgrounds, and other places, you would see that there is a lot of talk about mass exodus. Of course, private, charter, others out of state, etc. So I'm pretty sure that the demographic shifts are not what the district had in mind 20 years ago in support of serving all communities in San Diego. So I'm asking for your support to those programs to retain them. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Holly.
Hi, I'm Lori Veros. I'm a school nurse, and I work at a large high school. And this year we were notified by the Public Health Department that we had a student with an active case of tuberculosis. So I worked collaboratively with the Health Department to notify 197 students and 10 staff who had been exposed and to get them tested. Then we were hit with a whooping cough epidemic, and I was actively involved in the investigation of at least 18 students with symptoms of whooping cough. Our school has 6 diabetics who require daily, sophisticated monitoring. Meanwhile, I average about 40 walk-ins daily. These range from flu symptoms to fractures, staph infections, and suicide interventions. When a kid comes to me and I say, well, what about this? Did you talk to your parent about your arm? It looks like it's broken. What did they say? And they always say, my parent told me to go see the nurse.
Once again, our community-based English tutoring program is on the eliminate list. I am here today to remind you about the benefits this program brings to the community. Adult students learn English literacy and reading strategies, and they, in return, do one-on-one tutoring in the classroom, on the school site, and they also use these strategies at home. Please, before you make your decision to eliminate this program, I invite you, I challenge you to come to any of our sites and see what CBET is about. We have the materials to continue. We have the school sites. We have plenty of adult tutors interested in our program. Reduce our program. Do not eliminate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Jennifer Osborne, Michael Rabin, Burton Grant, Matthew Lyons, Janine Montag. Did Janine already go? And Terry Simas. Please go.
Good evening. Good evening. My name is Terry Simas, and I am a parent of 2 students that are currently enrolled in University City High School. My children represent both sides of the spectrum. I have one that is a high-achieving student. The other is a critically, medically fragile special education student. I am here to address the proposal to cut 2/3 of the credentialed school nurses who currently serve the health and safety needs of our students. I am appalled to think that it's even under consideration to brush aside safe, professional, and cost-effective management of the health needs of our children. It's also noted that nurses are not listed as part of your restoration plan. How safe is it to entrust often life-threatening needs of students to unlicensed, minimally prepared staff who lack professional nursing assessment skills and expertise to respond appropriately to the many situations that occur every day in our schools? How will 30-some nurses cover all of the supervision needs? Who will the principals and counselors rely on for counsel? The proposed pool of nursing services will barely manage the required mandates. I respectfully request the current proposal be tabled and readdressed with more realistic, safe, and appropriate plan. Please, please, immediately reincorporate our school nurses to your restoration plan. Our children and our community need them.
Thanks, Terry. Yep. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Burton Grant. I'm an instrumental music teacher in the district, and before that I was a high school band director at Kearney High School until they eliminated music and drama, and it hasn't been restored there yet. I'm here to ask you to do not cut VAPA or the arts from our schools, and this gets to the very heart and soul of what we are as a school district. A school without the arts it stops being a school. It becomes a test prep center. And I don't think any of us want that. I don't really believe in the zero-sum construct. I think what we need is more revenue. And so we can, the voters didn't like the parcel tax, and I'm a little skeptical about these Jerry Brown taxes passing. Maybe what we need to do is sell school bonds. Maybe people will loan us money. We can finance it over years. Maybe we need to change the name of our schools and sell the naming rights to companies like they did for Qualcomm and Petco. The point is, what we need is creative thinking at this moment, which is the very thing our students learn in the arts. So I was really fast. Superintendent Koba, earlier tonight you mentioned that you felt...
Burton, thanks a lot. That's it. Yep. Thank you.
My name is Janine Montag. I am 16. I'm ASB Junior Class President. I'm in Honors and AP classes, and I'm a dancer at the School of the Creative and Performing Arts. SCPA is not a frill, nor is it easy. I have been attending since the 8th grade, and I had to audition to get into the high school. I was tested against hundreds of my peers and was incredibly happy when I got in. The audition is a contract I entered with the people of San Diego. If I want to define myself as a dancer, I have to meet your definition of a student. I read my Twain, Steinbeck, and Miller so that I can study Graham, Ailey, and Limon at a school where meeting in the middle is Shakespeare. Yes, I live far from school, and it is a 45-minute bus ride, not to mention the cost to ride the bus now to get from Mira Mesa to Paradise Hills. Yet I'm extremely willing to do so. People here are only divided by their majors, not what zip code they live in. The dance studio is every bit a place of exploration as my biolab. SCPA provides a place for passionate students to immerse themselves in what they love to do, as well as receive a college prep education. SCPA has made me into the individual artist and creative thinker that I am today. SCPA must remain a part of San Diego and give other students who are interested in the arts a chance to feel safe, accepted, and free. Thank you for your time, and we hope you preserve the Magnet program, and please come and check out one of our shows.
All right, thanks. Matthew Lyons, Emery Evans, and Marianne Neese. And one more call for Jennifer Osborne and Michael Raven.
Hello, my name is Marianne Nice, and I'm a registered credentialed school nurse currently working at Kearney High School. And as a school nurse, daily I deal with students with chronic illness, mental health issues, depression, suicidal ideation, problems with drugs, pregnancy, environmental food allergies, serious chronic illnesses, etc., and many students with diabetes needing daily insulin. What I've learned is that Kearney High is currently planning on replacing the registered credentialed school nurse with a health tech. A health tech is an unlicensed person, basically a lay person with a first aid class and a CPR card. That concerns me. What I predict will happen, given the types of things that are dealt with in any school office across the district, is that the increase in 911 calls will be exponential. I would predict, just given the kinds of things that I deal with in the health office at Kearney High, that 911, the paramedics would be called probably 2 to 3 times a week at a minimum. Just let me use today as an example. 8:30 I was in a meeting and I got a phone call basically stating that there was a student having a seizure on a school bus. I dashed to that and was dealing with that particular student. A health tech would not be able to do that. They cannot even check a heart rate or check a pulse. Later in the morning I received a phone call basically, or a page, that a student was down, had fainted, was face down in a classroom. A health tech would not be dealing with that. Both of those situations would require 911 to be called. Please use all of us, realize that we are the experts in the field. We know what we're talking about in terms of the health and safety needs for San Diego Unified School District students.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marilyn.
Good evening to the board members and also to San Diego. My name is Emery Evans, and I am a race and human relations assistant at Camp Palomar. That means a lot to me. First of all, because I'm an African American male, and African Americans in general who grew up where I grew up and have had to wake up to gunshots, sirens, helicopters flying by, airplanes, jackhammers in the daytime, fights. To go to a setting like that, I tell you, it's therapeutic for these youngsters. It was therapeutic for me when I had the opportunity to come out of that setting, even if it was just for a week. You know what it's like to have that type of peace? Do you know what it's like to be able to go back and tell your younger brothers and sisters about that peace and have them look forward to it and then have it snatched from them? That's what's going to happen. It's the only chance that some of these kids will ever get to get out of that setting, to see that their horizons can be expanded.
Thanks, Emery.
Tight. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Okay, I want to thank everybody who came out to speak tonight to us, and we'll now go to board comments. And Dr. Evans, do you want to get us started?
Obviously, in this kind of situation, we learn a lot about the great things that go on in our district every day that's not being paid attention to. We often hear that public schools are failing, but in fact, we have some really great programs, some really great staff, some great things going on. And it's not reasonable to say that we can run our schools without the nurses we need, without the teachers in the classroom. I mean, the idea that we're going to increase the class size and at the same time we're going to take away all the supports that around the teacher and the students, such as nurses, counselors, the bus driver who gets them to school. cutting arts programs. The CBET, the English tutoring program, is an excellent. I even saw today a dissertation was written on some of the results here in San Diego. There are a lot of really great things going on. When I came on the board 2 years ago, we realized that we were going to have to go through what we thought at the time was about 2 years of austerity, where we had to cut back and tighten the belt. At that time, the class of 2020 was in the first grade. And during that first year and part of the second year, we had stimulus funds from the federal government. We were able to keep the cuts as far away from the classroom as possible. However, last year we had to start cutting deeper, and we looked at our priorities. And again, even though class size was a priority, we did raise the class sizes in K to 3. Now we're looking at doing that even more, a lot more. And in 2012, this is not stopping. Where are we going to be in 2012? One of the things, when we were looking at this several months ago, I was very frustrated. We decided, okay, let's go to the voters and say, look, we're not going to have enough money to adequately run our schools. And so we went out there. We knew it was very difficult. It was hard to ask people in a time of recession to contribute more to the schools. We were fortunate in the fact that we were supported by the public with 51% of the vote. However, as you know, that wasn't enough to pass it. And again, I've heard comments from people of the 51% who did vote, who do want to contribute and do want to participate, and we're going to talk about that next week in terms of foundation for people to make their contributions to the public schools. Now, the problem we're facing right now, and the superintendent is dealing with, is this lack of clarity. We're looking at a $120 million cut. But this is not the worst case scenario. We're also looking at a better case scenario of about a $60 million cut. You might say, from the conservative side, why are we not preparing for the worst case scenario? I think one of the reasons we're not preparing for the worst case scenario is that it's absolutely impossible. As the Chief Financial Officer mentioned, we're not even talking about huge classes, no support staff, no extra programs. We're talking about actually cutting the school year down to 7 or 7.5 months. I mean, it's just stripping it away more and more and more. So based on all of this, it's very tempting to say, let's vote against this proposal that the superintendent has brought. Let's not do this. Let's not make these cuts. But there certainly is a problem in terms of where are we going to get the money. One of the things I'm concerned about is that we don't paralyze the superintendent and staff at this point in time. What we need to do right now is support the superintendent and what he is doing in trying to come up with the best possible budget to keep our schools operating. That is his responsibility, and it's not an enviable job. And then I think from this point, after tonight, we need to, as a board and as a public, begin to advocate, as many of you have said, for the funding that we need for public education. But we can't have the superintendent and staff just standing there staring like a deer into the headlights without beginning to make the preparations that they need to make. Now, this $120 million list that the staff has come up with certainly is not my list, and I don't think anyone else here on the board would have enjoyed the job of personally coming up with $120 million of cuts. I do appreciate the work that he's done. It's also been very transparent, which shows that there are inequities in the district. There are things that are uneven, but nothing was hidden. It was pointed out this is what we are doing. We really made an effort to put a lot of the decisions in the hands of the schools rather than just saying we have decided to cut this or cut that, but let the schools decide what they considered was most important for their own particular community. The situation is this. Tonight we are looking at passing a preliminary budget. This is a temporary step. We are not going to pass a budget for next year until June 30th. This is one step along the way that we need to begin to make preparations. I'm sure there will be many revisions along the way. There are certainly things on this list. Well, first of all, I mean, almost everything on this list I'm opposed to. I'm sure it doesn't match up exactly with my priorities. But it just underlines the fact that we need to support the superintendent in making these preparations so that we can now then turn our attention to advocating for the funds that we need so that we won't have to make these serious cuts. The legislature first needs to get it on the ballot. The legislature actually has the power themselves to, without even putting on the ballot, to make these changes. I certainly don't expect that at this point. But even to get on the ballot, we're going to need members of both parties who are willing to say, let's give the voters a choice. Let's give the voters a chance to weigh in. And this time, we don't need a two-thirds vote. This time, the 51% vote will really count. And we're talking about $57 million, which is pretty close to what we were talking about before when we were talking about $50 million for Proposition J. So we really need to tell the legislator, let us have a say, let us have a chance in terms of supporting our public schools. So that's why tonight I am supporting that we approve this preliminary superintendent recommended budget at this point in time, and that we approve the superintendent preliminary alternate budget, which will be revised and altered as we move from here to June 30th. It's just too important to not move forward at this point, so that's why I support it.
Is that a motion?
So I'm making a motion that we adopt what is not a final budget, I just want to clarify, but the preliminary superintendent recommendation for the budget and the preliminary superintendent recommendation for the alternate restoration budget.
I will second that motion, and I know we've got plenty of comment. Ms. Jackson? Yeah.
I would like to thank everyone that came out, took time to come out tonight and speak, and those of you that have stayed for this meeting. And certainly my comments is not to indicate that the staff has not worked very hard. I understand that staff has worked very hard. But I also understand there's a lot of things that we can look at and a lot of things that we can do a little bit better. And I want to just go through my questions really quick through these particular slides. Can we first go back to page 11? On page 11, I think it would be fair to the public. At the bottom, you show our restricted funds. And I keep asking more about these restricted funds. What you don't see is at the bottom you see how the unrestricted funds are spent to the school site, central office, fixed costs and reserves. You do not see that for the restricted. And I think that is very important because even though many of the things that we have a little bit further down into this budget are transferred to restricted funds. And when I asked the question during my one-on-one, which I don't like one-on-ones, but during one-on-one I asked, last year when we did our budget was very tight. So the question becomes, if we're transferring something over to restricted funds, what happens to the other budgeted restricted funds, the item that was in that restricted funds already? Because I know that we budgeted every single thing. So I have a problem with the snapshot and then the next page. Then as we go to provider-based allocations for the schools, I would mention this again. I am very concerned about how they were allocated. We just spent 2 days in Sacramento saying San Diego is different. We have a large population of special needs students. But then I sit here tonight and you say, well, no, we're going to give us a basic allocation throughout the district the same. So we can't have double standards. We can't say to people in Sacramento and D.C., we need extra funding because we're special. But then when it comes to our schools, we say, you know what? That is not true for you. And so I think that when they decided this basic allocation, and my concern there was that we do have some schools that absolutely have to have a nurse as part of their core. It's not an option. So the idea to say, well, you know what, you get X Factor, you can use X Factor. For some of them, they absolutely have to have a nurse. They absolutely have to have security on their campuses. When we get to a little bit further here, and you say that the impact for less security is Wilson and Mann, two of our neediest middle schools, it makes no sense. So it's those types of things that I understand, and I understand the severity of the cuts that we have to take. But I also think that we have to think a little bit smarter, because we can't say we're going to have, managerial staff. And one of my peers up here asked, they said, we have schools now sending in their reports and they're going to have a half of a school tech or a school clerk. That means their office may be closed part of the day. How many offices up here are closed part of the day? Okay? So if we're going to close an office part of the day, it should be one up here, not at the school site. My concern then becomes that if the schools are doing that, and we have problems at the school site, if the school needs a nurse and can't afford a nurse, if the school needs a counselor and can't afford a counselor, then what happens? Is the district going to now send that school out a counselor? So then is this a shell game that in the end, because of required needs that we have to provide at some schools, then we end up funding those things out of what pot of money? I am very concerned about that. And I'll try and stop for the next round, but let me just get on page 17 and go down just a little bit here. Item number 2, gate discretionary fund. My first question is, how much funding does the Gates get this year? If the discretionary, I don't mind you cutting the department, but the discretionary funds come in, then I believe it should go to those students. If that means they only get $5 a piece this year, that's it. But at least that money is coming here for those students. And that money should not be, if we're getting any. Okay? If we're not getting any, then I'm okay. You have a number of items, item number 5, item number 3, number 5. All of these are going to some kind of restricted account. I know you gave me a chart, but what that chart did not tell me is what restricted account some of these central offices are being paid out of. And that is a huge concern for this board member. And what I feel is that as much as possible, any restricted funds need to go to the school sites, and we need to be able to see that. And today, I haven't seen that. Our focus has to be on children. And so I'm going to stop there, but there's a motion that I can't support. I know we have to turn in a budget by the middle of this month, but tonight should just be a first reading, and I'm not going to support this as given to me tonight.
Mr. Little, do you want to address a couple of Ms. Jackson's questions?
I'll just comment. I apologize if the reports we sent you were not clear enough. So we'll clarify the restricted reports and pull out what's changed and what's proposed with respect to moving staff into Title I and Title II and EIA. To move some staff into those restricted areas, there are staff moving out of those areas, and some of the professional development funds are moving out of that area. Some other changes, but we'll make that clear to you. And we'll also separate what's at the school site level versus kind of what's central. So we'll get that to you as soon as we can.
Thank you.
And I would add that we totally eliminated certain offices in the central office, so there is nobody left in certain parts of that organization. As we were shifting, some of these are small offices that went from 5 to 1 or from 5 to 2. Mm-hmm. And if we moved anything into the restricted funds, we in fact probably laid off or recommended a layoff for another individual because we had to do that kind of movement.
So in B1, which is reduce the gate office, but in B2 said eliminate gate discretionary funding. And so my question there again is there any funding coming from the state at all for the gate program?
Yes and no. So the funding that is coming from the state is all unrestricted. It's part of the Tier 3 allocations, the 40 block grants that used to be restricted for specific purposes and uses. All of that money since 2008-2009 is unrestricted for districts and boards to use as they choose. So this was, my understanding, is sort of the remnant of what used to be part of that GATE grant and is now being passed on to the GATE program.
I would just one board member, I would just really think that I'm not into the flexibility. The reason that the state had to put restrictions on how the money had to be spent was because exactly this. When it gets to the local level, somebody decides, well, let's not use it for intended purposes. And when the money is allocated for children, and this is the key point, if those funds, and as a GATE teacher, I know I used to get a few dollars for my students. If this is money that's allocated for those students, then that money should go to the students. If there's administrative money, then yes, we can keep that. But if it's for the students, it should go to the students. Our priority is supposed to be taking care of the students and ensuring them an adequate education. Okay.
Mr. Beiser, do you want to?
As I understand the budget process, we are in the second inning of a very long baseball game.
This is just the second inning. Things will change dramatically, but this is very important second inning because it can set the tone for how we're going to finish playing this game. One of the things that I think is very important is we all have to realize that Sacramento really has a lot more control over what we're able to do or not do than we like to realize. The school board does not decide how much money we get for our children. Sacramento decides that. How many people in here have made a phone call to someone in Sacramento, sent an email to someone in Sacramento, or written a letter to somebody in Sacramento? They need to hear from all of us. Yeah. They really, really do. To the extent that we have got to support the governor's budget. With the governor's budget as it is, and to also support the governor's ballot proposal in June, which is really important that we all understand that the governor's June ballot proposal does not raise taxes 1 cent. What his proposal is to keep taxes the same. It keeps those taxes the same instead of letting them expire. And the difference is that if that ballot proposal passes, as I think it will, because I think Californians are ready to hold the line on taxes, and if that proposal passes, that means we have $57 million more for our school district to take care of our kids. And to that extent, I'd like to add a friendly amendment to the motion on the floor that in terms of the restoration plan, slide 32. I noticed that there's $12 million in contingency funds on slide 32. And I also noticed that there's an additional $11.5 million in X Factor going to the schools to then decide if they want to spend on nurses, for the schools to decide if they want to spend on VAPA. But I think we have to, Trustee Jackson makes a very good point. We have to some extent, also define what is the core that we're going to provide our schools. What's the bottom line for child safety? And for A through G education, an A through G, and it's kind of interesting because this board, we have an A through G process at work right now where we have a commission that's looking at whether or not we as a school district want to require A through G curriculum for high school graduation. But one thing we need to also remember is that F in A through G stands for fine arts. And VAPA is a part of that. So to the extent that we hopefully will have that those restoration dollars, I really would like to see that we amend the restoration plan to include building back in those things that we feel are core for student safety, such as VAPA, nurses, and GATE. One of the other things that I am incredibly passionate about being a teacher is small class sizes. And so I really applaud the superintendent's proposal to use restoration funds to hold the line on K through 3 class sizes. And that's very, very important. The other thing that I have done in the last 2 months, in partnership with the other board members, especially Scott Barnett, with our Tiger teams, is we're really looking at how can we make San Diego Unified the leanest school district in the state of California, if not the country. And to that extent, we have been pushing and having meetings and one-on-ones with different folks in the central office. And that's where I'm really excited and very impressed at how dramatic some of the central office cuts are. Because for every dollar we are able to realize savings in the central office in a different department, or collapsing departments, or merging departments that are redundant, those are services that we can provide at the school. And that's what I'm really excited about. And I was really happy to see that some departments in the central office are being cut as much as 39%. I do think that we can do better. I noticed the IT department is only being cut. We're only identifying 10% savings in the IT department, and I really think that we ought to continue to look for opportunities in other departments in the central office as well, because we are only in the second inning. So there's going to be more opportunities to realize savings and identify efficiencies. But also, the bottom line is we absolutely have to move on. And to that extent, I will be voting to support the superintendent's proposals.
So, Mr. Beiser, just to clarify your amendment, and I think I agree with you. Could I take a shot at?
Go for it.
So, the amendment, the way that I would think about amending the motion would be. Number one, there's not specifically in the restoration plan a plan about restoring the school nurses and the health needs, and I would like to identify that as a priority in restoration. So stop me if I'm off track. But and then the way that I would think about going forward with the restoration plan is I'm not ready tonight to recommend specific changes in the restoration plan or specific dollar amounts, but I do think that what we've heard consistently from a number of speakers and out in the community is that people want to participate more in the process of developing the solutions in the restoration plan. And so whether that means the people who we've heard tonight advocating for the smaller class size in K-3, or whether that means the people who've been advocating for music and arts, the people who've been advocating for the restoration of the landscapers, the people who've been advocating for the restoration of the GATE program, the people who've been advocating for the restoration of the magnet program, all of the priorities that you've identified in the restoration plan, that we go forward, after putting this report together, and reach out to those communities, and so that when we come back with a final budget that includes the restoration plan, that we're coming back with these communities and with these advocates, who want to see these, who agree with us in the restoration, but have some specific ideas and will add a lot of value coming to the table. And then finally, in the amendment, when we talk about the same basic concept, that when we talk about the X factor, so the conversations going back to the school sites, what I've heard from the school sites that felt that there was a lot of opportunity for participation, that although obviously the decisions were difficult, that they felt good about the process. But I've also heard from people who felt that they didn't get to participate and that the process wasn't fully inclusive at their school sites. And my guess is, if we think about our 200 campuses, they're all over the place, so that we really ask Dr. Meyer and the area superintendents to work closely with the schools to make sure that as we go forward to further develop and define the restoration plan, including the restoration of some discretionary funds, that the process is more inclusive and is as inclusive as we would hope it would be. So putting all that together, if that's consistent with your amendment, Kevin, I would second.
Yeah, that sounds pretty much along the lines where my mind is. Part of the concern is that, for example, we took 29 VAPA FTEs and pulled back and said elementary schools and other schools can buy those VAPA FTEs. Nobody did. Not one. So that means the end of all music, instrumental, and education in our elementary schools. And I'm not okay with that. So those 29 FTEs represent music and art education for thousands of our children. And the dichotomy that I'm trying to point out here is that on one hand we're letting that happen, and on the other hand we're pushing A through G requirements for high school graduation. And music and performing arts is one of those A through G requirements. So we have to be a little bit more thoughtful in making sure that we're being smarter with that. So I think that should be definitely a part of the restoration plan.
Okay, so we've got a motion and an amendment. Mr. Barnett.
I have no idea what the amendment is, but I will there was like a Hemingway-like paragraph, which is fine. But we can get back to
more like Faulkner, I would say.
Oh, okay. What I would like to come out of this meeting, ideally, with the board building consensus on a united message to the public that, in spite of the fiscal gun we're under by the state and the challenges locally, that we are supporting our superintendent, we're supporting our staff in general direction. So I have some thoughts maybe how to move in that direction for me and maybe some other board members. Number one, I think I'd like to separate the to next year's budget from the restoration budget. But we don't have to amend the motion at the moment, but I think there are different issues in those for me. Secondly, as much as we like to talk about the restoration budget and talk and hope and pray and burn incense and every single thing we can do, we have to, I think, be realistic that there's a very good chance we'll be stuck with the current budget thereabouts. Let's hope the voters vote for the tax extension. I will support it, and I will urge other Californians to do so. But the question is, if right now we know or have a pretty good sense of that we have roughly this $120 million shortfall. It may get better, could get worse. So I would like to keep working on the $120 million and say I've not given up within that worst case scenario on first setting goals that this board as its priorities for restoring within the $120 million cut, forgetting what the taxpayers do, and also keep working with the superintendent and staff and the community on generating more revenues in this budget and cutting more areas which I think can be cut. And I think we need to look at what we have control over locally as much as so a few suggestions. Number one, I think if we, and I prepared a memo for the board, and forgive me for getting it to you all 3:30 today, but we all got this last night at 6 o'clock. So and I'm not criticizing the staff. The staff, I will say, Mr. Koba and Ron Little and everyone has worked so hard under these terrible deadlines and has really done an extraordinary job, and I think to be commended for what they've done. And first of all, my goal is, at the end of this, when we approve our budget by July 1, that we are going to find a way outside of the box that the superintendent has created in this budget to find other ways to be creative in restoring the K-3 class size, which I think is a top priority of all of us. To look at what the level of nurses and counselors is to have more of the bare minimum basic health and safety needs. I don't know what that number is. I know what the nurses would like, but I don't know what the number is between what's being proposed now. And part of that is for us to go to site by site and see where they didn't want a nurse, and Ms. Jackson's and other people's comments that there are greater needs at different school sites. So we do have a responsibility of looking at that. So in my view, I would like to restore the VAPA to the current level as it is this year, and I would like to, in my goal, to restore some of the magnet cuts as well. Those are my general goals and I want to work for as a board member within the restrictions we have to restore the current K-3 class size, restore VAPA, come up with a increased spending for nurses and counselors, I don't know what the number is, and have some of the magnet school supplemental allocations restored. That would be, if we're going to approve this budget going to the county, and tonight I'd like to send a message to the public that even though we're approving this Dickensian budget, that we have this vision within the current budget to continue to work, even if there's no tax increase, to find ways with working with all our partners and so forth to make that happen. And I'm going to suggest then some specific areas tonight where we have some additional cuts and potential revenues to also say, I'm not just praying for money. I am suggesting approaches to do that. And I have a few, which, so in my view, I could support the motion on this budget that's being the superintendent had tonight if we, number one, say we have these general goals, and we may not all share those, but I think I hit most of our key issues. And secondly, at least give some direction to the superintendent to look at some of the areas I'm suggesting for cuts and revenues. Not necessarily approve them, but at least say to the public, we're being creative within the parameters we have. So I could try to, but you have two motions, a motion and amendment now. So maybe that's my overall view, and then I'd like to talk briefly and maybe about what I'm suggesting real briefly on a couple of the cuts and revenues. Just let me take 30 seconds for each one. Number one, this first one is not actually won't save money, but certain schools, we all know that full-day kindergarten is more than just the education side, but for a lot of families, it's a basic daycare. It's a basic survival. And I understand that for a lot of families, not all families, and not all areas of the district necessarily. My kids, who are now in high school and almost high school, when they first started kindergarten in 1995, and we both cried as we took our first child off to school, then was the first year of full day. You know, we could have lived with half day, and we would have, and I think most of the families who went to our school could have. So number one, I'm suggesting that let's give schools the option to discuss within their own school that if they want to restore the class size reduction, that they could reduce to half-day kindergarten. Give schools the option to at least look at that within their school site. Now, once again, it's not going to necessarily save a net dollars, but at least if those schools, we might, or some schools, we might be able to reduce the class size, and the trade-off might not be detrimental to the parents. So at least say that's an option for them to look at. On specific cuts I'm proposing, number one, I believe that we need to send a message that as much as I value every area superintendent that I've met and worked with and seen, that we need to urge staff to reduce and restructure that system of the area superintendents. And my recommendation is that we urge them to reduce it to 5 positions and restructure it how they see. Right now the budget's calling for reducing 1. I'm suggesting reducing, I guess, 2 more, I think that is.
There are 2 lines on the budget, and one is the reduction of a vacancy, and the other is a $1.73 million cut.
I'm looking for the actual people, position, and then we can deal with their discretionary budget aspects as we go ahead. But I think, and that's not going to solve our budget problem, but symbols are important. The other thing, and I will say, and this is, I have, both my children are Gate and Seminar kids, and I greatly appreciate that. But what Ms. Jackson says, we need to move the dollars to the sites, every dollar we can. And I am opposed to the superintendent's restoration of the administrative Gate funding. I want to unrestore those, and I want those funds, or at least the part that specifically dealt with Gate and Seminar, be used for, if necessary, to make sure the testing counselors still work and go to the site. But the bottom line is, I want that to go to, so I want to eliminate the administrative and the department at the central office level and let the sites, as we continue to do site-based school, let the sites in the communities and clusters utilize as many of those resources as they can, and that will save some money as well. One other thing I recommend, we should, and I know the staff has done this in some cases, but we need to have an aggressive look at our 12-month positions in the district. From principals, I mean, our customers, most of them, our students are here less than 12 months, 8 months, whatever the exact number of days are. We need to look at reducing those 12-month employees that are truly to a bare minimum, and maybe it's 11 months, maybe it's 10. It's obviously it's going to vary per department and function, but I'm convinced we can squeeze out more money by asking staff to take a much stronger look at that, all the way from the site level all the way up to the central office. And then two other quick things. Number one, transportation. If I wanted to send my kids to a magnet school out of the neighborhood, and to be honest, I've viewed a lot of magnet schools the last couple of months, and I've gone home and said, hey, there's this great program here, and this great program here, because as much as my kids are doing well, I feel like they're bored, and this is exciting. But, if I want to send them there, their mom and I should have to pay to get them there, because we can afford it. We should have to pay either to drive them or get a taxi, or if the school bus is going to take us, we should pay the full cost recovery and not be subsidized by the rest of the district because we choose that we want our kids to have arts or music program at Magnet. So what I would suggest is that the staff work with, and if we charged everyone who is not a free and reduced lunch family the full cost recovery, it could raise over $3 million in new revenues that we are subsidizing out of the general fund now. So I'm not saying that's the end, but let staff work with the Transportation Tiger team and come back with a specific plan for full cost recovery and how it's going to be rolled out to the parents who use transportation, and a plan to actually collect it and enforce it and come back with that. And once again, we're talking about either reducing cost by maybe some parents will say, okay, I'll drive my kid there now, and or increasing revenues. Lastly, on the issue of school magnet funding, or on the funding issue, some magnets and dedicated magnets do bring kids in from outside of the district, not just out of their neighborhood. And I think as we're looking at our overall revenues and expenses, it's worth at least calculating what those added benefits and dollars are to the district if you bring in 100 kids out, and what that new ADA is, and there should be some recognition that those particular programs are maybe generating some of those. And that goes back to my goal on the magnet restoration. A comment on the school closure realignment process. We should not close schools simply because it necessarily costs more than another school. That is one factor. But we do need to do, and what staff's recommending, is right-sizing our district. As much as we'd like, I don't believe public education in this state is ever going to be funded at the level it was when we were kids. There's a whole new paradigm, sad as that is. So we need to decide how we are going to deal with that in the next 5 years, 10 years. And that means probably what is the right size of our district? How many school sites should we have? And the school closure or a realignment committee has started to look at that, but it should be looking at not just next year, but then a 5-year plan. It may be we want to align 5 schools, or maybe after the end of 5 years, 30 schools. I don't know. But we need to look at it at a more long-term basis, and also understand in 10 years, the way kids are learning are going to continue to move more towards stuff like this than sitting in a room. So my recommendation would be is that we continue with the community, this process of the school alignment committee, and we have them come back with recommendations after working with a process of how to work with the community. I mean, for one example, if a community is told we need to eliminate an elementary school, I'll pick Mission Bay area, which is mentioned in the report. If that community says having that school is really important to our cluster, then you know what? Maybe we say to that cluster, you help pay for the extra cost of us subsidizing a smaller school that is taking money from the big picture. And that is the case throughout the district. And so I think we need to look at creative ways also of saying that if that's important to a cluster, then the cluster should look at it holistically. So anyhow, bottom line is, I want to support this tonight. I want to support the superintendent's effort, but I want us to state that we're not done with 2012, even within this current one. We have our vision for primary issues, and we also are going to ask the superintendent to work with us and staff and employees and parents and community to increase revenues, cut more costs, and continue to work, because I believe we can do a lot better within the resources we have until July 1 with a lot of creative ideas. So I don't know how, is that another amendment to 30?
Yeah, let me see if I can unpack, but Dr. Evans, did you?
Yeah. I mean, I think after listening to Mr. Beiser and Mr. Barrera and Mr. Barnett.
The bees.
Not stick. You
haven't made any amendments.
Ms. Jackson has not proposed an amendment.
Yeah,
right. There is no sexism here.
Not yet.
Okay. I think that what we're saying is basically we're talking about moving forward with the preliminary scaffolding of the budget that the superintendent has presented. And Mr. Beiser began talking about, specifically about the restoration plan and how some of those details need to be better worked out. And then Mr. Barnett followed up with some of the things that even if there isn't a restoration, that we're not taking it at face value, that there is a lot more to be worked out. And it has been my experience with the staff that when we can give direction without multiple motions about every detail and every line, and that Ms. Ward has taken notes in terms of what Mr. Beiser pointed out, in terms of the health and safety issues, in terms of nurses and counselors and so forth, as far as that being part of the restoration plan, and VAPA, and some of the things are listed on here and some are not. That's why I was mentioning the others. And then what Mr. Barnett has brought up in terms of all of these topics, which I think are definitely worth looking at in this time period. What he was talking about in terms of kindergarten, which was not an imposing thing, but a flexibility issue for the schools. The issue of not just looking at the area superintendent budget as a particular number of millions of dollars, but also specifically coming up with a proposal in terms of reduced number of positions, such as 5. Looking at different ways, different things have been stated in terms of the GATE program, but looking at that, and as well as transportation, magnet, and also the right sizing of a district, which was started by the conversation that Mr. Stover brought up. So my idea of my original motion is that we approve this preliminary scaffolding of a budget presented by the superintendent, and that from at this point that the staff would be able to continue to work forward in the next coming months in consultation with us between now and June 30th.
Can I just make a comment very briefly? I don't understand. We don't have to approve this right now. The reason for approving it was to bless it so they can go ahead and start doing these things. And we just sat here for the last 15, 20 minutes talking about what was wrong, what needed to be done differently. So that is my concern. My concern is that you don't just approve something and then say, well, go back and do it this way, this way, this way, this way, this way. What you do is you don't approve it and you say, go back and do these things. Because once you approve it, which I found out in December, it is in stone, and they may tweak it a little bit. Maybe my experience is different. Because in December, I said a lot of things needed to be looked at, and a few were, but by most fact, I was told that we can't combine HR and finance. That's just crazy, Ms. Jackson. We can't do this. And so my concern is that if we're serious about all the things that Mr. Barnett said and Mr. Beiser said, then what we do is we say, go back and work on those things, because this isn't due tomorrow. This is not due. And when is this due? It's due in March. When is it due? We got 2 more meetings at least before it's due. So I'm not understanding what the rush is to approve it. That's my concern.
First of all, what we're being asked to approve tonight isn't really a budget. I mean, a budget, we know we have about $500 million of areas, general areas we're going to spend at school sites, either the basic or the X factor. And then we have $120 million listed of proposed cuts, but we don't know any detail as to where that $500 million is being spent. And we don't know all the central office areas that the details were spent. I mean, that's part of the budget, which we don't have to approve till July 1. We do have to send in something to our friends at the state and the county office of ed by March 15th. So we have to do that. So the idea is, I don't see this as a budget. I see this as and also most of the issues that I raised, some of them can be resolved tonight. Yes, cut this, restore that. But some of the larger issues are going to take weeks, months to discuss, evolve, and work on. I don't know that we necessarily have to you're right, we have a couple of weeks, but we're not going to resolve these issues that I raised, or a lot of these issues, even if we wait till March 14th. Yeah. So it's just not going to happen. So the question is, how do we fulfill our state responsibility to the state, but also let the public know that we're not giving up on even on the constraints that we are now, that we're going to work with the staff and make them look at all these issues. We're going to work with them, the community, and so forth. The employees that came up tonight and said, hey, we can save money. Great, let's do all that. So, so that's why my feeling is, but I do want to separate the restored one from the other one, because I have a whole difference of philosophy on the restoration budget than I think the direction that was going. So,
okay. Superintendent, do you want to jump in here?
Yes, President Breyer. I think that there is a lot to be said for setting a framework like has been proposed tonight. There has been that issue of collaborative sacrifice and impact. I also find great value in exploring the recommendations of Trustee Barnett, but they are complex with great potential return on investment. Couldn't be completed in the next 14 or 15 days or even the next 30 days, but they could clearly be validated to some large degree before you adopted your final budget on 30 June. You just need the time, but the process has to run in parallel. We can continue to look at these issues. We do have to build the strategy that will be accepted by the county office. We do have to create the layoff strategy for your consideration. They have to be done based on fundamental assumptions discussed tonight. But while that goes on, we can continue to work on these issues. Clearly, take the restoration budget out in a broad-based way to the community, factoring in Tiger Team inputs, factoring in any community recommendations. But it's a parallel process, and time is not with us. That's my observation.
So let me see if we can move this forward. So what we've got is a motion from Dr. Evans that talks about approving both the $120 million framework going forward and approving the restoration framework going forward, with a direction to the staff to take all of the ideas that you've been hearing from the different trustees tonight and start working on those and bring those forward, certainly, as we start to consider a final budget going forward in June. In order to maybe take action on Dr. Evans' motion, I wonder if, Mr. Beiser, if you would consider withdrawing your amendment, which I seconded, if you feel that Dr. Evans' general motion encompasses what you're trying to achieve.
Well, I will withdraw my friendly amendment because it was regarding the $57 million, the restoration budget, and I respect Trustee Barnett's suggestion that we separate the two this evening.
Okay, so we've got a motion on the floor with a second, and why don't we vote on that motion?
No, I still have a question about
Ms. Jackson
that motion.
has a question about
yes,
that motion?
I do. I have concerns that what we're approving, and this, again, we should have first readings and then we approve something. This rushing it through does not work. When you look at this item on A3 about even the transportation, you got 43 schools listed. There's no high schools listed on this. You talk about transportation, and I look at this thing that says eliminate magnet riders. You got 30 routes and 359. I don't feel, and certainly I'm trying to express this as clearly as possible, there are certain parts of this district that are getting shafted tonight. Okay? And that's my concern. My concern is that I want us to give something to the county that it's right, but I don't want to give something to the county that is shafting part of this district. And so when you start looking at these schools, why is it 44 schools when we have lots of other schools that have VEEP and magnet and transportation issues? We're not addressing that. When you go back and look at the needs of the schools, the one that needs to have nurses, that needs to have counselors, we're not addressing that. That is not in this preliminary offer. And if we're going to be serious about our students, then we will put it in there. There are some things that can go in there, not on the 30th of June, but right now before we submit this preliminary offer.
Let me say, I agree. Number one, I share Ms. Jackson's frustration. I mean, as someone who's spent most of my public career going through budgets, this is not a budget. And I'm not saying that to be denigrating of, it's not supposed to be a budget tonight. I mean, but what I was suggesting in my memo, if you will, is that we want these issues, like the issues of number of nurses, counselors, VAPA, and the transportation issues, to be looked at further, because I don't support the specific transportation plan that Mr. Stover's been working so hard on. I mean, it's a great direction, but I haven't even had a chance to look at it. I don't know. I don't necessarily support. So what I'm saying is, if we are with the understanding that these issues are open and on the table, and I think that's what Mr. Evans is trying to say, and we can say to our constituents that, look, I'm not playing games and say that there's going to be money to restore, certainly not everything that everybody wanted tonight, but we are going to work really hard the next few months until we have to approve the budget, no matter what the state does, to hit these top priority areas and look at all the other things. So that's why I think that's what we're doing tonight, is even though the details, when you start asking for backup on any of these areas, I agree. I'm not happy with it. I don't know. I don't feel comfortable with it. I have 1,000 questions on the budget, but I have 8 months or whatever to get those questions answered. So,
okay, I am going to call the question then. So we've got a motion and a second. Please vote. Okay, motion passes.
I will move items 3 and 4, which we have to do. And that was that part of the motion? Direct human resources, or was that already part of the motion? You just had item 1 on the superintendent's preliminary budget.
Yeah.
So we have to do 3 and 4, or right? You'd like us to do those too?
No, I understand. Do
you think that motion included 3 and 4?
Included everything on here.
Oh, everything except the alternative, which he separated out, the restoration budget. Although, to be honest, did that include the restored budget? Because I thought you pulled that out.
No, that included.
They included everything.
They included everything.
You just voted for everything.
No, remember he pulled out his friendly.
No, because okay, we can go back, and so we're clear.
I support it all, except I wanted to take a separate vote on the restored budget, and that's all. So,
okay,
that was not my understanding.
Well, why don't we then go through?
So that would just be a motion to support. I will support, even though I don't support it. I will support for sending to the county the proposed restored budget, even though there's larger.
I believe that was included in Dr. Evans' motion,
as it is, but not with the
direction. In the same way that with the $120 million budget, we're going to go back.
That it's not necessarily going to be resolved in the next 14 days or whatever.
Okay.
I think we should read off what we just approved to the public so they know what we just.
Yeah, I think. Well, we need to be clear.
Read it out, Cheryl?
At the motion that we just approved.
Because he said we approved all these things. They approved all these things.
I can restate.
Yeah. I just want to. I think did you approve all this stuff?
I wasn't
Let
looking at
Dr.
that
Evans
list.
restate.
What I had stated, and I'm sure people will replay the videotape and catch a word or two different, but was that basically we would be approving what I was calling a scaffolding of a preliminary budget plan and an alternate budget plan, and that having listened to specifically what Mr. Beiser and Mr. Barnett had said on both the alternate budget and on the first budget, that there were certain items and all the items that had been discussed, and they can be reviewed on the tape, that were mentioned, ranging from the health, what was listed on the alternate budget, as well as the health and safety issues involving nurses and counselors. The others were already listed there. And then what Mr. Barnett had mentioned in terms of flexibility in kindergarten programs, coming up with a specific reduction in area superintendents to 5, closer digging into the transportation budget, including the possibility of full cost recovery, also reviewing the magnet funding, and supporting what Mr. Stover had started in terms of the right sizing of the district.
If you just reference the memo, I think it hits all those points as part of the action, and then that will probably then the public and the staff will know exactly, because they'll have in writing exactly what we did. Is that the understanding? If
that was my motion.
I guess the question was items 3 and 4 that was on page 3. He had 4 items for board actions, and I don't know about the other 2.
Yeah, I'm clear that Dr. Evans.
Well, that was when I talked about the moving forward with the preliminary budget. That included the steps that they needed to do.
Right. So we all understand that was our intent. Okay, that we're going to approve 1 through 4, and that we will attach this as general guidance.
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
So now everyone knows what we did?
Right. Okay, good.
Without having to review the tape.
All right. This meeting is adjourned.
Oh, darn. All right. Is the buffet still open in the back? No, I'm kidding. There's no buffet. Just kidding.